from the Speaker indicating that or directing that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes, because as provided for in the House Standing Orders. Number 39 indicates that at least 15 senators, or the quorum of the House shall be 15 senators, for the House to be able to commence its sitting. And if that quorum is not present, Standing Order number 40 indicates that that quorum bell shall be rung for 10 minutes, of course, to give room to members of the Senate to be able to make their way into the House to join their colleagues who are already in the chamber, and most importantly, enable the House attain that much needed quorum for it to be able to commence. We can see a few members already in the chamber. However, the quorum has not yet been attained, and so that bell shall be on to be able to at least alert members who may be within the precincts of Parliament but yet to make their way into the House to hasten their steps and join their colleagues. As we wait for that, we shall continue to take a look at the business that is lined up for consideration this morning. Motions from the major part of the priority business that the members of the Senate shall transact this morning. A report that was tabled by the Standing Committee on Energy regarding an inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing, which was considered on the floor of the Senate. This morning, a question will be put for the House to be able to adopt that particular report of the Standing Committee on Energy. A debate on the motion regarding the mainstreaming of a framework for clean cooking in Kenya, moved by the Honorable nominated Senator Hamida Kibwana, is lined up for consideration on the floor of the Senate this morning. Regarding this particular motion, the House will be resolving or seeking to resolve that the county governments develop county level policies and frameworks and budgets that mainstream clean cooking into devolved energy and health functions. Also, the National Treasury and Ministry of Energy prioritize clean cooking in financing frameworks, including results-based financing and blended finance models to de-risk private investment. That the county governments also incorporate clean cooking targets in their county integrated development plans and ensure public institutions such as schools, health facilities, and prisons adopt clean cooking solutions, and also that the National Treasury and county governments fast-track letters of authorization to unlock carbon finance markets for clean cooking projects. And also this particular motion seeks to ensure that the county governments engage the private sector actors and community organizations to expand clean cooking access, create local jobs, and reduce pressure on forest resources. Now, these are resolutions that are coming up from this particular motion. However, the mover of this motion backs up these particular resolutions on a number of concerns or issues, one of them being that Article 42 of the Constitution guarantees every person the right to a clean and healthy environment, which includes access to safe energy options. The mover further argues that over 900 million Africans, including more than 90% of households in Kenya's rural areas, still rely on traditional biomass, that is firewood, charcoal, animal waste, for cooking, resulting in high levels of indoor air pollution that causes premature deaths, particularly among women and children. Also, that in Kenya, the indoor pollution has been linked to over 23,000 annual deaths, with women and girls bearing the disproportionate burden of time spent collecting firewood and cooking, limiting their education and economic opportunities. There is also the argument that the traditional cooking methods contribute significantly to deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions, and climate vulnerability at the county level, undermining national commitments under the Energy Act 2019, the Climate Change Act 2016, and Kenya's nationally determined contributions. So with that, this particular motion also acknowledges the efforts of some counties, development partners, and private sector actors in piloting clean cooking projects, but recognizing that these remain small scale and fragmented. Hence, this particular motion with the resolutions that I have just outlined that the Senate seeks to make to be able to ensure that those particular targets regarding clean cooking for many Kenyan households are reached. The targets are reached and the benefits for using of clean cooking in Kenya are also attained. If you're just joining us, that the House is about to commence, there is a quorum hitch. However, we have seen more members make their way into the House. The Speaker has directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes to be able to give room to members of the Senate to make their way into the chamber. And of course, once that quorum is attained, then that business shall, without any further delay, commence. Members of the Senate also shall this morning, once the House commences, be able to consider a motion. The motion regards the provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate. Provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate. This is a motion that is moved by the Honorable Senator for Busia, Honorable Andrew Omtata Okowit. In this particular motion, the member indicates that Article 96 of the Constitution provides that the Senate represents the counties and serves to protect their interests, determines the allocation of national revenue among counties as provided in Article 217, and exercises oversight over national revenue allocated to the county governments. This is a mandate that we have seen the Senate perform or undertake in a very comprehensive manner, as well as a dedicated manner. The motion, or the mover of the motion, further indicates that in a case, or cites a case of the Senate versus Council of Governors and 6 others that was considered at the Supreme Court, and that it affirmed that the Senate's oversight authority extends to both nationally allocated and locally generated revenue. This also indicates that senators are constrained by lack of access to real-time data from the IFMIS system for the respective counties they represent, hence affecting effective oversight of county governments. Also, the mover indicates that in some instances, data and information presented to the Senate by the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget are received and considered late as a result of the backlog, resulting into too much information not getting properly reviewed by senators. Also, the motion indicates that as a result of the unchecked financial information and systems, county governments have continued to accumulate pending bills resulting from unplanned expenditures, unaccounted for, and inflated cost of projects. In this particular motion, the mover then seeks to also have the Senate resolve that the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury shall on a monthly basis forward to the Clerk of the Senate all IFMIS transactions and reports for each county government for onward transmission to the respective senator for information and on accountability and transparency. The quorum bell has stopped. That means that is the lapse of the first quorum bell, the 10-minute first quorum bell. We are waiting to hear from the speaker on the direction that he will give, whether the House has attained that quorum for it to be able to commence, or perhaps a further. Let's listen in.
Times ring the quorum bell for another 10 minutes.
A further 10-minute quorum bell has been directed to be on. Of course, still as provided for in the House Standing Order number 40. However, the members in the chamber are just about to be able to attend that quorum. Just a few more members remaining to be able to enable the House attend that much needed quorum. And of course, in a short while, the House should be able to commence. At this point, the whips from both sides, that is the majority and the minority, are normally required to be able to whip members to be able to make their way into the House. So we should be expecting more members to get into the House and for the business of the House to be able to commence. Earlier on, I had indicated to you that a motion regarding the provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate, for the Senate to be able to consider them on time, is a motion that is coming up for consideration on the floor of the Senate. And this particular motion just seeks to resolve that the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury shall on a monthly basis forward to the Clerk of the Senate all IFMIS transactions and reports for each county government for onward transmission to the respective senator for information on accountability and transparency in order to strengthen their constitutional oversight and promote good governance in the management of public finance. This is a mandate. The oversight of the county governments is a mandate that squarely falls or lies in the hands of the senators. So this is a matter that they say should be able to make their work easy if the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury shall be able to, on a monthly basis, forward to the Clerk of the Senate all IFMIS transactions. This is, of course, to reduce delay during and also backlog during the consideration of such reports that are normally forwarded to the Senate by the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget. The senators also will this morning, once they are done with that particular motion, will also move forward to consider a motion on the delinking junior secondary schools from primary schools. This is a motion by the Honorable Senator Mwenda Gataya, a matter that touches on the education sector. In this particular motion, the Honorable Senator backs his argument on that the Ministry of Education, or indicates that the Ministry of Education in Kenya introduced the junior secondary school, commonly abbreviated as JSS, as part of the competency-based curriculum implementation, marking a major milestone for the country's education system and a key opportunity to improve the quality of education that is available to the students in the country. The junior secondary schools program play a vital role in shaping the academic trajectory of learners by providing students with a strong foundation in core subjects, helping them develop essential skills and offering them opportunities to participate in extracurricular activities, promoting greater social inclusion. It is in this particular motion that the mover of the motion seeks to have the Senate resolve that the Ministry of Education, the Teacher Service Commission, and the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development provide for an independent administrative and operational framework for JSS to enhance governance, streamline management, and create a more focused learning environment for the learners. Also allocate adequate funds for the construction and equipping of junior secondary schools with essential facilities such as science labs, libraries, and ICT rooms, and provide adequate learning materials relevant with the curriculum. Remember, that is the second 10-minute quorum bell that is currently underway. We have seen more members also make their way into the house. The whips are back into the house. We are yet to find out whether that quorum has been attained. Of course, from the communication by the speaker, remember, if the house has not attained that requisite quorum, then it risks being adjourned. This is, of course, as provided for in the House Standing Order number 40, I beg your pardon, that once the 10-minute quorum bell has lapsed and a further second round 10-minute quorum bell has lapsed and the quorum has not been attained, then the House, the Speaker may adjourn the sitting forthwith until the next one. However, we believe that quorum has been raised. We have seen more members make their way into the House, and the Speaker should be communicating on whether that quorum has been attained. As we wait for that, we shall continue to look at the business that they are addressing this morning, majorly the motions, because the cabinet secretaries have indicated that they will not be available for the question time at the Senate chambers this morning. So the order of business has a number of motions that have been lined up for consideration by the Senate, and of course, once that quorum is raised, then they shall get right into it to consider these particular motions. And of course, that is a communication that will be made by the Speaker once the House commences. Regarding the motion by the Honorable Senator Mwenda Gataya on delinking junior secondary schools from primary schools, some of the resolutions that the House seeks to make from this particular motion is to ensure that the Ministry of Education, TSC, that is Teacher Service Commission, and the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development offer professional development programs for JSS teachers to help them specialize in specific subjects to effectively implement the JSS curriculum. Also develop a clear career progression framework for junior secondary school teachers, including opportunities for promotions and additional responsibility allowances. The Senate will also be resolving that the Ministry of Education, TSC, and KICD formulate clear policies. Well, let's listen.
Now, so clerk, kindly call the first order. Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, honorable senators, we were expecting the CS in charge of lands and housing this morning for purposes of responding to 3 questions by a senator from Marsabit, the Senator Hamida Kibwana, and the Senator for Nairobi City County. However, last evening we received a letter from the CS indicating that she will not be able to attend plenary this morning for purposes of responding to those questions, and therefore we will move to order number 8.
Order number 8, motion, reports of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and networking engagements in Kitui, Makueni, Machakos, Kiambu, Bungoma, and Kakamega counties.
Clerk, do you have the requisite quorum? Now, honorable senators, I will proceed to put the question on order number 8, which is that the Senate adopt the report of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and networking engagements in Kitui, Makueni, and Machakos counties, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 26th of February 2026. Kiambu County, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 19th of March 2026. Bungoma and Kakamega counties, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 21st April 2026. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order. Yes, Senator for Nairobi City County.
Speaker, I remember when I used to be on the SBC, we had developed this practice of inviting a minimum of 3 cabinet secretaries, so that in the event one doesn't show up, at least another one would, just to increase the probability of us actually having those engagements. I don't know what has changed, because I'm no longer on the SBC, that today we had only expected 1 CS.
True, Honorable Senator, nothing has changed. Indeed, we expected 3 CSs this morning, but sitting at the SBC yesterday, we looked at 2 letters that had been sent by the 2 CSs who were supposed to appear today. We found the reasons indicated in those letters to be valid, and therefore we acceded to their request not to appear. However, CS Lands had not indicated to us. We only received the letter after SBC. In fact, the letter was received after 4 p.m. yesterday, and that's why she is indicated to appear this morning. Now, with that letter having been received after SBC, that's why you see it's contained in the order paper. Her questions are contained in the order paper. Had we received this letter then before SBC, it could have been processed, just like the other 2 letters that were processed at SBC. But otherwise, the practice of having 3 CSs is very much in practice. Next order, clerk. Yes, Majority Leader.
Just as a follow-up to what the Center for Nairobi is inquiring, Speaker, will you confirm to the House? Remember, we had issued fresh guidelines on letters such as the one you're referring to that come in hours before the plenary on what needs to happen. There were necessary sanctions that we said do actually follow, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, if the House elects to do so, fining people that are misbehaving, because as a House, I remember you signed a letter to the Prime Cabinet Secretary and to the rest of the coordinating department, and they know the procedure. While we don't have a problem with the 2 Cabinet Secretaries that informed the House early in advance and said, we shall not be present, this particular one that you're referring to, the Minister for Lands, and Housing, Mr. Speaker, first of all, this minister is a ranking member. She served for 3 terms in Parliament. So while you may excuse even others, though no excuse is allowed, Mr. Speaker, she properly knows the procedures for Parliament. And this is not the first time that this is happening. So I wanted to know from you whether the necessary sanctions, as you had enlisted in that particular letter, Mr. Speaker, have applied.
Well, sanctions are handed down by the House, not by the Speaker.
Yes.
If indeed is in the opinion of the House that you sanction the CS, it is very much within your powers. It's true, Majority Leader, that we have communicated the procedure to the Prime Cabinet Secretary. But that procedure has been flouted by a number of CSs. We have a letter from the CS Lands that was received after 4 p.m. yesterday. Last week we had questions and there was no letter, there was no communication, there was no phone call. We sat here not knowing exactly what to do. So it's true that the procedure has been communicated, explained to the Prime Cabinet Secretary. They even have a desk that is an interlinkage, that interlinks Parliament and the Executive. But despite putting all those measures in place, we still have these very ugly incidents where a CS just decides to write a letter either that morning or the evening before Wednesday. So it's very unfortunate. So if the House deems it fit to give sanctions, it's within your powers, honorable senators. But this is not a good practice. Yes.
So, Speaker, to speak twice on the same issue, but I have looked at the letter that she wrote. Other than the fact that it was received very late, I honestly do not believe that those reasons are sufficient reasons, because she says that...
there's no reason given.
Yeah, she says due to prior, earlier planned whatevers. And Honorable Speaker, you know, as a House, when we do these invitations, the invitations actually are sent out in 14 days. So that if, for instance, that invitation falls on a day where you're planned to travel or something else, you should write immediately. The CS for Lands just, unfortunately or fortunately, happens to be one of my favorite in this cabinet. There's only 2 of them. It's her and Chirchir. So I might cut her some slack, but I think she needs to be told that we are not very happy as a House for the reasons that we have advanced for why she's not here. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Senator Veronica.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity, and I want to also reassert that it's important for the CSs to take this session very seriously as an accountability platform both to Senate and to the public. However, I want to distinguish CS for Lands as a top performer in Cabinet. And Honorable Speaker, she has appeared before this House and has never spited Parliament. I want to believe the reason why she has to be excused today must have been very serious reasons for which she could not come to Parliament, because she has served, like Majority Leader has said, and she's already done the communication. So I want to request, Honorable Speaker, because a decision was arrived at yesterday at the SBC, that the CS be excused, and maybe communication was already done. It will look like a mixed signal when an issue is determined and a resolution done, that we recall it on the floor of the House, especially on a top-performing CS. We would only encourage that all the ministers to be available for the House on Wednesday morning and not to prioritize other business before putting the session in Parliament on a priority basis. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
So we proceed to order number 9.
Order number 9, motion, report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing.
Now, honorable senators, I will proceed to put the question because debate on this order had been concluded. Clerk, do you have the requisite quorum? I'll proceed to put the question. That the Senate adopt the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and potential for the local manufacturing, which was laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 11th of June, 2025. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, mainstreaming a framework for clean cooking in Kenya.
Senator Hamida Kibwana. The business is deferred. Next order. Yes, Majority Leader.
I was listening to you, you said deferred. Previously, there's an SPC resolution on what happens to motions when it's called on the floor and the owner of the business is not. I don't remember if we agreed to vacate that position, Mr. Speaker.
It was on questions and statements.
No, even motions, Mr. Speaker.
You see, ML, if we drop this order and the honorable member walks in, we may need to have it. If you look at the order paper, it's fairly short. And in the next 10 minutes, we may have to adjourn. So for today, allow me to hold that decision in abeyance because we will be looking for business. So in the event that Senator Hamida walks in, we may need her to continue with her business so that we can make the morning more productive. So let's defer it instead of dropping it, so that in the event she walks in, then we have an opportunity to have it prosecuted. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate.
Honorable Senator Andrew Omtata. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, delinking junior secondary schools from primary schools.
Senator Mwenda Gataya, MP. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 13, motion, promotion of artificial intelligence and innovation policy in Kenya.
The Honorable Senator Karungo Thangwa. That motion is deferred. Yes, Majority Leader.
On to standing order number 38 on temporary suspension of a sitting. We, Mr. Speaker, at SBC yesterday, and it's good I say this when the Vice Chair is here, because we instructed, the Budget and Finance Committee had proposed that they were likely to be through, Mr. Speaker, with the Division of Revenue Mediation Committee. And we had said, because we knew we had one cabinet secretary, we knew that we are likely to process that business this morning. They had promised us that at the rise of the House, not at the rise actually, yeah, at the beginning of the session this morning, we will have that report. I have since followed up. The Vice Chair has come into the House panting, saying that she's trying to get the report, and they have promised that by 10:30, that report will be in the House. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to request if you could indulge us that we, pursuant to standing order number 38, that the Senate do suspend its proceeding for 30 minutes in order for the Finance Committee to complete the work on that report, and we resume our sittings at 10:30, Mr. Speaker, with the tabling of the report and the supplementary order paper so that we begin that business. Maybe just to make a provision for any eventualities, we say 10:40. Actually, it's the same. It will be 10:38 because it's 10:08 now, Mr. Speaker. I request Senator Watenya Sifuna to second.
Mr. Speaker, I second, just to say that Majority Leader, just the way we have rebuked the cabinet secretaries, it's also very unfair for colleagues to come to the House this morning and the owners of the business on the order paper are not here. I think it's also something that we have to note as a leadership. And as part of the whips of this house, we are having very difficult, our work is not supposed to be this hard. Yeah, I mean, people kill each other to be in this house. I expected some of them, I am an SG somewhere, speaker. And we know how much they fight for these nominations and tickets. If your business is on the order paper, just to be fair to colleagues, please show up to the house. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
All right, so then I'll propose the question that the Senate do suspend its proceedings until 10:40. Okay, in order to, we are going to deal with the report on on DORA. Yes. Okay, in order to receive the report on DORA. Now, honorable senators, this is rather procedural. We need not debate it. If, with your concurrence, you may allow me to put the question. Do I put the question? Yes. Which is that the Senate do suspend its proceedings until 10:40 a.m. this morning in order to receive the report on DORA. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Please guys, don't disappear. We need more.
For the Senate proceedings on this 10th day of the month of June, the year 2026. It's just about 2 minutes and a few seconds to 9:30 in the AM. That is the time allocated for the sitting this Wednesday morning, the Senate plenary sitting this Wednesday morning. And it is a broadcast that is streaming live from the Senate chambers, Parliament buildings. A broadcast that is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. A warm welcome to you, and we are glad that you are joining us for these proceedings this morning. Currently on your screens, that is inside the Senate chambers, we can see members of the Senate have already made their way into the chamber just to get ready for the business that is lined up for consideration this morning. Being a Wednesday morning, the Senate is expected or set to host the cabinet secretaries for them to be able to respond to various concerns that were forwarded to their ministries, of course, through questions on matters concerning could be county, inter-county, national, regional, and even international concerns forwarded to the ministries prior the cabinet secretary's appearance before the Senate chambers. And this morning, the cabinet secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development is scheduled to appear before the Senate chambers to respond to various concerns. And also the members of the Senate shall consider motions. There are a number of motions that have been lined up as priority business for this morning sitting. You will recall that the senators have been, or rather conducted the debate on the reports of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and engagement, networking engagements in various counties, including Kitui, Makueni, Machakos, Kiambu, Bungoma, and Kakamega counties. And that debate has taken place on the floor of the House. This morning, the business that would be undertaken on this particular business, or the stage that this particular business has reached, is that it's the question to be put. The committee, the Standing Committee on Health had tabled its report recommending the Senate to adopt those reports regarding the county oversight and networking engagements that were done in those various county governments. And this morning, the question will be put for the House to be able to adopt those particular reports. Also, a motion regarding the report of the Standing Committee on Energy and on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing is also a business that has been ongoing on the floor of the Senate chambers. And this morning, the members shall also resume debate. However, at the far end of the aisle, the red carpet aisle leading straight from the Speaker's office into the chamber, we can see the Speaker's procession making its way into the House. That is the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi, making his way into the chamber this morning to preside over the business that is lined up for consideration by the honorable members of the Senate. You will now allow me to hand you over to this business that is brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good morning.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi tutazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba utuwajalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
So the prayer has been said and the chair taken. However, there is a quorum hitch at the commencement of the sitting of the Senate, and we have heard from the Speaker indicating that, or directing that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes, because as provided for in the House Standing Orders. Number 39 indicates that at least 15 senators, or the quorum of the House shall be 15 senators, for the House to be able to commence its sitting. And if that quorum is not present, Standing Order number 40 indicates that that quorum bell shall be rung for 10 minutes, of course, to give room to members of the Senate to be able to make their way into the House to join their colleagues who are already in the chamber, and most importantly, enable the House attain that much needed quorum for it to be able to commence. We can see a few members already in the chamber. However, the quorum has not yet been attained, and so that bell shall be on to be able to at least alert members who may be within the precincts of Parliament but yet to make their way into the House to hasten their steps and join their colleagues. As we wait for that, we shall continue to take a look at the business that is lined up for consideration this morning. motions form the major part of the priority business that the members of the Senate shall transact this morning. A report that was tabled by the Standing Committee on Energy regarding an inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing, which was considered on the floor of the Senate. This morning, a question will be put for the House to be able to adopt that particular report of the Standing Committee on Energy. A debate on the motion regarding the mainstreaming of a framework for clean cooking in Kenya, moved by the Honorable nominated Senator Hamida Kibwana, is lined up for consideration on the floor of the Senate this morning. Regarding this particular motion, the House will be resolving or seeking to resolve that the county governments develop county level policies and frameworks and budgets that mainstream clean cooking into devolved energy and health functions. Also, the National Treasury and Ministry of Energy prioritize clean cooking in financing frameworks, including results-based financing and blended finance models to de-risk private investment. That the county governments also incorporate clean cooking targets in their county integrated development plans and ensure public institutions such as schools, health facilities, and prisons adopt clean cooking solutions, and also that the National Treasury and county governments fast track letters of authorization to unlock carbon finance markets for clean cooking projects. And also this particular motion seeks to ensure that the county governments engage the private sector actors and community organizations to expand clean cooking access, create local jobs, and reduce pressure on forest resources. Now, these are resolutions that are coming up from this particular motion. However, the mover of this motion backs up these particular resolutions on a number of concerns or issues, one of them being that Article 42 of the Constitution guarantees every person the right to a clean and healthy environment, which includes access to safe energy options. The mover further argues that over 900 million Africans, including more than 90% of households in Kenya's rural areas, still rely on traditional biomass, that is firewood, charcoal, animal waste, for cooking, resulting in high levels of indoor air pollution that causes premature deaths, particularly among women and children. Also, that in Kenya, the indoor pollution has been linked to over 23,000 annual deaths, with women and girls bearing the disproportionate burden of time spent collecting firewood and cooking, limiting their education and economic opportunities. There is also the argument that the traditional cooking methods contribute significantly to deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions, and climate vulnerability at the county level, undermining national commitments under the Energy Act 2019, the Climate Change Act 2016, and Kenya's nationally determined contributions. So with that, this particular motion also acknowledges the efforts of some counties, development partners, and private sector actors in piloting clean cooking projects, but recognizing that these remain small scale and fragmented. Hence, this particular motion with the resolutions that I have just outlined that the Senate seeks to make to be able to ensure that those particular targets regarding clean cooking for many Kenyan households are are reached, the targets are reached, and the benefits for using of clean cooking in Kenya are also attained. If you're just joining us, that the House is about to commence, there is a quorum hitch. However, we have seen more members make their way into the House. The Speaker has directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes to be able to give room to members of the Senate to make their way into the chamber. And of course, once that quorum is attained, then that business shall, without any further delay, commence. Members of the Senate also shall this morning, once the House commences, be able to consider a motion. The motion regards the provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate. Provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate. This is a motion that is moved by the Honorable Senator for Busia, Honorable Andrew Omtata Okowit. In this particular motion, the member indicates that Article 96 of the Constitution provides that the Senate represents the counties and serves to protect their interests, determines the allocation of national revenue among counties as provided in Article 217, and exercises oversight over national revenue allocated to the county governments. This is a mandate that we have seen the Senate perform or undertake in a very comprehensive manner, as well as a dedicated manner. The motion, or the mover of the motion, further indicates that in a case, or cites a case of the Senate versus Council of Governors and 6 others that was considered at the Supreme Court, and that it affirmed that the Senate's oversight authority extends to both nationally allocated and locally generated revenue. This also indicates that senators are constrained by lack of access to real-time data from the IFMIS system for the respective counties they represent, hence affecting effective oversight of county governments. Also, the mover indicates that in some instances, data and information presented to the Senate by the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget are received and considered late as a result of the backlog, resulting into too much information not getting properly reviewed by senators. Also, the motion indicates that as a result of the unchecked financial information and systems, county governments have continued to accumulate pending bills resulting from unplanned expenditures, unaccounted for, and inflated cost of projects. In this particular motion, the mover then seeks to also have the Senate resolve that the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury shall on a monthly basis forward to the Clerk of the Senate all IFMIS transactions and reports for each county government for onward transmission to the respective senator for information and on accountability and transparency. The quorum bell has stopped. That means that is the lapse of the first quorum bell, the 10-minute first quorum bell. We are waiting to hear from the Speaker on the direction that he will give, whether the House has attained that quorum for it to be able to commence, or perhaps a further. Let's listen in.
Times ring the quorum bell for another 10 minutes.
A further 10-minute quorum bell has been directed to be on. Of course, still as provided for in the House Standing Order number 40. However, the members in the chamber are just about to be able to attend that quorum. Just a few more members remaining to be able to enable the House attend that much needed quorum. And of course, in a short while, the House should be able to commence. At this point, the whips from both sides, that is the majority and the minority, are normally required to be able to whip members to be able to make their way into the House. So we should be expecting more members to get into the House and for the business of the House to be able to commence. Earlier on, I had indicated to you that a motion regarding the provision of IFMIS reports for county governments to the Senate, for the Senate to be able to consider them on time, is a motion that is coming up for consideration on the floor of the Senate. And this particular motion just seeks to resolve that the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the National Treasury shall on a monthly basis forward to the Clerk of the Senate all IFMIS transactions and reports for each county government for onward transmission to the respective senator for information on accountability and transparency in order to strengthen their constitutional oversight and promote good governance in the management of public finance. This is a mandate. The oversight of the county governments is a mandate that squarely falls or lies in the hands of the senators. So this is a matter that they say should be able to make their work easy if the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury shall be able to, on a monthly basis, forward to the Clerk of the Senate all IFMIS transactions. This is, of course, to reduce delay during and also backlog during the consideration of such reports that are normally forwarded to the Senate by the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget. The senators also will this morning, once they are done with that particular motion, will also move forward to consider a motion on the delinking junior secondary schools from primary schools. This is a motion by the Honorable Senator Mwenda Gataya, a matter that touches on the education sector. In this particular motion, the Honorable Senator backs his argument on that the Ministry of Education, or indicates that the Ministry of Education in Kenya introduced the junior secondary school, commonly abbreviated as JSS, as part of the competency-based curriculum implementation, marking a major milestone for the country's education system and a key opportunity to improve the quality of education that is available to the students in the country. The junior secondary schools program play a vital role in shaping the academic trajectory of learners by providing students with a strong foundation in core subjects, helping them develop essential skills and offering them opportunities to participate in extracurricular activities, promoting greater social inclusion. It is in this particular motion that the mover of the motion seeks to have the Senate resolve that the Ministry of Education, the Teacher Service Commission, and the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development provide for an independent administrative and operational framework for JSS to enhance governance, streamline management, and create a more focused learning environment for the learners. Also allocate adequate funds for the construction and equipping of junior secondary schools with essential facilities such as science labs, libraries, and ICT rooms, and provide adequate learning materials relevant with the curriculum. Remember, that is the second 10-minute quorum bell that is currently underway. We have seen more members also make their way into the house. The whips are back into the house. We are yet to find out whether that quorum has been attained. Of course, from the communication by the Speaker, remember, if the House has not attained that requisite quorum, then it risks being adjourned. This is, of course, as provided for in the House Standing Order number 40, I beg your pardon, that once the 10-minute quorum bell has lapsed, and a further second round 10-minute quorum bell has lapsed and the quorum has not been attained, then the House, the Speaker may adjourn the sitting forthwith until the next one. However, we believe that quorum has been raised. We have seen more members make their way into the House, and the Speaker should be communicating on whether that quorum has been attained. As we wait for that, we shall continue to look at the business that they are addressing this morning, majorly the motions, because the cabinet secretaries have indicated that they will not be available for the question time at the Senate chambers this morning. So the order of business has a number of motions that have been lined up for consideration by the Senate, and of course, once that quorum is raised, then they shall get right into it to consider these particular motions. And of course, that is a communication that will be made by the Speaker once the House commences. Regarding the motion by the Honorable Senator Mwenda Gataya on delinking junior secondary schools from primary schools, some of the resolutions that the House seeks to make from this particular motion is to ensure that the Ministry of Education, TSC, that is Teacher Service Commission, and the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development offer professional development programs for JSS teachers to help them specialize in specific subjects to effectively implement the JSS curriculum. Also develop a clear career progression framework for junior secondary school teachers, including opportunities for promotions and additional responsibility allowances. The Senate will also be resolving that the Ministry of Education, TSC, and KICD formulate clear policies. Well, let's listen.
Now, so Clerk, kindly call the first order.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, Honorable Senators, we were expecting the CS in charge of lands and housing this morning for purposes of responding to 3 questions by a Senator for Marsabit, the Senator Hamida Kibwana, and the Senator for Nairobi City County. However, last evening we received a letter from the CS indicating that she will not be able to attend plenary this morning for purposes of responding to those questions, and therefore we will move to order number 8.
Order number 8, motion, reports of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and networking engagements in Kitui, Makueni, Machakos, Kiambu, Bungoma, and Kakamega counties.
Clerk, do you have the requisite quorum? Now, Honorable Senators, I will proceed to put the question on order number 8. which is that the Senate adopt the report of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and networking engagements in Kitui, Makueni, and Machakos counties, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 26th of February 2026. Kiambu County, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 19th of March 2026. Bungoma and Kakamega counties, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 21st April 2026. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order. Yes, Senator for Nairobi City County.
Speaker, I remember when I used to be on the SBC, we had developed this practice of inviting a minimum of 3 cabinet secretaries, so that in the event one doesn't show up, at least another one would, just to increase the probability of us actually having those engagements. I don't know what has changed, because I'm no longer on the SBC, that today we had only expected 1 CS.
True, Honorable Senator, nothing has changed. Indeed, we expected 3 CSs this morning, but sitting at the SBC yesterday, we looked at 2 letters that had been sent by the 2 CSs who were supposed to appear today. We found the reasons indicated in those letters to be valid, and therefore we acceded to their request not to appear. However, CS Lands had not indicated to us. We only received the letter after SBC. In fact, the letter was received after 4 p.m. yesterday, and that's why she is indicated to appear this morning. Now, with that letter having been received after SBC, that's why you see it's contained in the order paper. Her questions are contained in the order paper. Had we received this letter then before SBC, it could have been processed, just like the other 2 letters that were processed at SBC. But otherwise, the practice of having 3 CSs is very much in practice. Next order, clerk. Yes, Majority Leader.
Just as a follow-up to what the Center for Nairobi is inquiring, Speaker, will you confirm to the House? Remember, we had issued fresh guidelines on letters such as the one you're referring to that come in hours before the plenary on what needs to happen. There were necessary sanctions that we said do actually follow, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, if the House elects to do so, fining people that are misbehaving, because as a House, I remember you signed a letter to the Prime Cabinet Secretary and to the rest of the coordinating department, and they know the procedure. While we don't have a problem with the 2 cabinet secretaries that informed the House early in advance and said, we shall not be present, this particular one that you're referring to, the Minister for Lands and Housing, Mr. Speaker, first of all, this minister is a ranking member. She served for 3 terms in Parliament. So while you may excuse even others, though no excuse is allowed, Mr. Speaker, she properly knows the procedures for Parliament. And this is not the first time that this is happening. So I wanted to know from you whether the necessary sanctions, as you had enlisted in that particular letter, Mr. Speaker, have applied.
Well, sanctions are handed down by the House, not by the Speaker.
Yes.
If indeed it is in the opinion of the House that you sanction the CS, it is very much within your powers. It's true, Majority Leader, that we have communicated the procedure to the Prime Cabinet Secretary. But that procedure has been flouted by a number of CSs. We have a letter from the CS Lands that was received after 4 p.m. yesterday. Last week we had questions, and there was no letter, there's no communication, there was no phone call. We sat here not knowing exactly what to do. So it's true that the procedure has been communicated, explained to the Prime Cabinet Secretary. They even have a desk that is an interlinkage, that interlinks Parliament and the Executive. Now, Honorable Senators, there is a supplementary order paper that is being circulated. That is the one that will be in use in this session. Clerk, kindly proceed to call next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Chairperson, Standing Committee on Finance and Budget.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I beg to table the following reports. 1, the following papers. 1, report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026. Mr. Speaker, I also beg to table the report of the Standing Committee of Finance and Budget on the consideration of the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 8 of 2026. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Standing Committee on Finance and Budget.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 10th June 2026, and that pursuant to Article 1132 of the Constitution and the Standing Orders 167.3 of the Senate, approves the mediated version of the bill.
Next order.
Order number 14, motion, consideration of the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 2 of 2026.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Finance and Budget.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026, laid on the table of the Senate on the 10th of June 2026, and that pursuant to Article 113 of the Constitution and the Standing Orders 167.3 of the Senate, approves the mediated version of the bill. I beg to.
Senator Tabitha, you had already given notice. You are supposed to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, my apologies. I think it's been a long week during the mediation, and I beg to rephrase and request you, Mr. Speaker, to move the motion that the Senate adopts the report, the mediated report of the mediated version on division of revenue, Mr. Speaker. As a House and as a committee, we started this process as pertaining the Constitution and also as per our standing orders, Mr. Speaker. The Senate Finance Committee were able to agree on a 454 billion, Mr. Speaker. The report was tabled and adopted in this House.
Senator Tabitha, before you explain the motion, just move it as is contained in the text, and then now you can go to your notes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the motion that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill number 2, National Assembly, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday 10, and that pursuant to Article 113 of the Constitution and the Standing Orders 167.3 of the Senate, approves the mediated version of the bill. Mr. Speaker, as I earlier mentioned, it's been a very, very busy week, putting in mind our timelines as the Finance Committee. And I really want to, first of all, appreciate members of the Finance Committee led by our Honorable Chair and all the other members. It's been a journey where we started. We were able to table before this House 454 billion. This was adopted before this House, Mr. Speaker. But apparently the National Assembly had already undertaken their process and settled on 420 billion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through the leadership of the House, a mediation committee was formed where myself and my other colleagues were able to sit in this committee representing this House and also members of the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker. We started this mediation process, Mr. Speaker, last week. We really had intense deliberations with our counterparts from the National Assembly, the Budget Committee, to be more specific, Mr. Speaker. We justified, Mr. Speaker, the reason as to why we had to give counties 454 billion, Mr. Speaker. Putting in mind and remembering that the proposal of CRA was actually higher. CRA had proposed 459, Mr. Speaker. And we gave them the many reasons as to why Senate proposed 454. One of the key reasons was the issues of inflation, Mr. Speaker. The SRC circulations that we know very well, annually there's annual increment of salaries. These are recurrent expenditures that the counties have to take care of, Mr. Speaker. The development project, like issues of KIPES, the issues of CHPs, Mr. Speaker, NSSF, all the increments that are in place, Mr. Speaker. And we were able to put our case before our counterparts of Budget Committee in the mediation committee that we undertook, Mr. Speaker. Case example, the issue of CHPs, Mr. Speaker. All counties have got community health promoters, Mr. Speaker, which is a shared responsibility between the national government and the county governments, Mr. Speaker. Some county governments have been able to adhere to the payments to their CHPs, while others have not been able to adhere, citing these challenges of financial. Mr. Speaker, we were able also to bring the issue of Clause 5, Mr. Speaker, whereby the National Assembly were requesting that we remove that clause, and we stood firm and said that in case of any shortfall, it should be bared by the national government. And at the same time, in case of any surplus, the same national government is still going to enjoy the same. So it's a two-way win-win conversation, Mr. Speaker. And in that process of mediation, we were able to agree that the shortfall or the surplus should be bared by the national government, Mr. Speaker. Yes, of course, we had a total of 7 sittings, Mr. Speaker. What were we discussing these 7 sittings, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, we have the issues of pending bills at the counties that need to be sorted. We have the issues of different projects, developmental projects, Mr. Speaker, as we all know, in our different counties, Mr. Speaker. And we, in the third meeting, we were able to bargain and lower our figure from 454, actually in the fourth session, to about 440 billion, Mr. Speaker. And we stood firm. Actually, we stood out from the meeting and said, if we are not getting 440, then we are not even proceeding. And by then, the National Assembly had moved to 425, Mr. Speaker. Until these proceedings went on, and National Assembly, we challenged them to go to the different ministries whereby some of the devolved functions have been allocated funds. Funds have been budgeted for through the ministries, and some of these functions are already devolved. And we challenged National Assembly to be able to remove monies from the ministries and be able to add to the counties through division of revenue, Mr. Speaker. And yes, they can attest that we really gave them a very hard time, because by the 6th meeting, they were able to add another 1 billion, Mr. Speaker, and the total was 426 at that particular time, Mr. Speaker. But still, we were not satisfied, and we moved to 435, Mr. Speaker. And the discussions went on, Mr. Speaker. At some point, Mr. Speaker, as senators, then we asked ourselves, and by the way, we are here doing our constitutional mandate, and at times these governors do not even want to appear before any committee of the Senate. But still, we didn't want to forget our mandate as fighters of this devolution, Mr. Speaker. And we went on and requested still that their budget still be increased, their allocation, Mr. Speaker, still be increased. Mr. Speaker, we had even further discussions on matters of equalization funds, many others, many discussions, Mr. Speaker. The National Assembly talked about the issues of the debt, Mr. Speaker. The fiscal space was quite limited, Mr. Speaker. And they took us to figures and discussions as far as the debt issue was concerned, Mr. Speaker. And our discussions went on. We challenged them, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the last audited and approved accounts, Mr. Speaker. Currently, as we speak, the last audited and approved accounts, Mr. Speaker, are for financial year 2022-2023, Mr. Speaker. Yet, we are dealing with the budget for financial year 26-27, Mr. Speaker. And we felt that it is unfair if National Assembly continues to delay the passage and the approval of the audited accounts to date, Mr. Speaker, because, of course, the revenue has changed. The last financial year, Mr. Speaker, the revenue is all the same as per 2022-2023. And if we are to use the current audited reports, even this figure actually would be still quite very, very high. So these are some of the discussions we put our foot down and defended the county governments, Mr. Speaker, and justified the reason as to why more monies should still be added to the counties, Mr. Speaker. Yes, some counties have been a total disappointment, Mr. Speaker. It is true. It is true. But that still did not deter us from ensuring that at least we do as our role and mandate pertains, Mr. Speaker. By the
Madam Speaker.
My very sincere apologies, Madam Speaker. As I said, it's been really, really a tough week, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, to a point that we had to tell the National Assembly, our counterparts, our good brothers and sisters, that this money is a constitutional right, 50% for the governors. It should not be like all the time Senate has to beg for county governments to receive their allocation. It's a constitutional process. And that's why today we are here looking at this division of revenue, Mr. Speaker. As I sum it up, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, finally, thank you, Senator Kiambu. Today I see you're very, very keen with me, and I appreciate. And so, finally, by our 7th meeting, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, we had already come to a conclusion. At some point, we had stuck at 430. And if it's not 430 billion, then no appropriation. But where do we leave our country? Where do we stand then? Why do we have to have a stalemate in this country? Why do we have to hope for leadership? Madam Speaker, I've served in this committee for the last 4 years, Madam Speaker. And when we started appropriation for DORA, we moved from 387, we went to 405. We moved from 405, Madam Speaker, actually just last year, and added 10 billion to the county governments, and we got 415 billion, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in our last meeting yesterday, we were able to achieve 13 billion, Madam Speaker, and the total settled at 428 billion for the county governments. And looking at the trend, Madam Speaker, it is at this mediation process that actually we were able to get a figure that was higher compared to the other mediation processes that we've had, and we were able to add counties 13 billion, Madam Speaker. Questions arose, Madam Speaker. Political questions arose. And may the soul of Baba Raila Amolo Odinga rest in peace. And we were challenged on the question of 450 billion, Madam Speaker. And we did not dispute. We wanted, and our wish was that legacy would be sustained. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, and as I said earlier, we were able to firmly put our case. National Assembly were able also to explain. They were able to do the cuts, Madam Speaker. And that's how we were able to at least achieve 13 billion. And we finally settled at 428 billion, Madam Speaker. And in those and many, so that I give my colleagues an opportunity, because we are really time-bound as far as this bill is concerned, I will be urging my colleagues, especially the ones who have the privilege to be able to vote, the 47 elected senators across Kenya. I would be able to really beg that we be able to adapt this mediation mediated version of the bill so that our counties can be able to continue progressing with offering development and quality service delivery to our same people that we all serve in our different capacities. With those many and few, Madam Speaker, I also want to appreciate the mediation committee led by Honorable Ali Roba, myself, Senator Faki, Senator Eddy, Senator Olekina, Senator Lelegwe, who are able to be appointed by this House after your approval. We were able to represent this House accordingly, and this is the report, and this is what we've been able to fight for and been able to achieve. It's our request that the House will be able to adapt this mediated version so that we can be able now to also move to the other bills that we normally have as a committee. As you all know, we have the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, and we are really bound by time. With those many and few, I submit, Madam Speaker.
Who seconded?
Yes, I'm moving there. It will be my honor to ask my colleague, my counterpart in the same committee and in the same mediation committee, none other than the Senator of Mombasa, Senator Faki, to be able to second. Thank you.
Senator Faki.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii kuunga mkono ripoti ya kamati ya uwiano kuhusiana na sheria ya dola. Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwanza nichukue fursa hii kuipongeza kamati kwa kuweza kukaa kwa muda mrefu, kuweza kujadiliana na wenzetu wa Bunge la Kitaifa mpaka tukawafikiana kiwango cha fedha bilioni 428. Mheshimiwa Speaker, kama alivyotangulia kusema Senator Tabitha, ilikuwa si rahisi kwa sababu wale wenzetu wa National Assembly walikuwa wanaongeza bilioni 1 kila baada ya kikao. Kila baada ya kikao wanakuja wasema tumeongeza bilioni 1. Tulianza bilioni 420, wakasema tutaongeza bilioni 1. Tukakaza, tukashuka kidogo, tukaja milioni 50, kutoka milioni 54 milioni 454, wakapanda kidogo. Mheshimiwa Speaker, mpaka jana jioni tukaona kwamba kuendelea na mjadala itakuwa ni kama kukamua maziwa kutoka kwa jiwe. Kwa sababu kwanza kabisa ni kuwa japokuwa mikutano hii ama hii maelewano yalikuwa ni baina ya Bunge la Kitaifa na Bunge la Senate, wenzetu wa Bunge la Kitaifa walikuwa wanapokea maelezo kutoka kwa hazina kuu, yani treasury, ambao kwa hakika ni kinyume, kwa sababu bunge ndio limepewa fursa kikatiba kuamua ni pesa ngapi zitakwenda zitagawanywa baina ya hizi mabunge serikali mbili, serikali ya kitaifa na serikali za county. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Speaker, ni masikitiko, Bi Speaker, ni masikitiko kwamba wenzetu wa Bunge la Kitaifa walikuwa wanahujumu shughuli hii muhimu kwa kutegemea zaidi maelezo kutoka kwa hazina ya kitaifa. Mheshimiwa Speaker, jambo la pili ambalo tuliweza kufaulu ni kuwa kile kipengee cha kifungu cha 5(1) ambacho kilikuwa kinasema kwamba iwapo kutakuwa na upungufu basi zile fedha ambazo zitakwenda katika kaunti zetu pia zitapungua. Hiyo Mheshimiwa Speaker tulikataa, kwa sababu tumesema kutoka mwanzo wa ugatuzi imekubalika kwamba iwapo zitaongezeka kwa upande wa serikali, kwa mfano serikali imepitisha kiwango cha pesa ambazo walitarajia kukusanya, hatuwezi kurudi tena tukasema pia serikali za kaunti ziongezewe. Na tukasema pia kwamba iwapo kutakuwa na upungufu basi serikali kuu ichukue upungufu ule ambao itakuwa kama serikali kama hazina kuu wataweza kujipanga na kuendelea ni vipi wataweza kuziba yale mapengo ambayo yamesababishwa na upungufu huo. Kwa Mheshimiwa Speaker, hichi ni kipengee muhimu, kwa sababu iwapo tungeweza kukubali kuwa wanaweza kubadilisha, ina maana kwamba zile pesa ambazo zinakuja katika kaunti zetu zingekuwa hazina uhakika, kwa sababu tungekuwa tutarajia labda itakuwa ni bilioni 428 ama zitashuka, kwa sababu hali ya uchumi kama tunavyoona, Mheshimiwa Spika, haipendezi. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la mwisho ni kuwa japokuwa serikali kuu ina nafasi ya kukopa na inakopa kila siku, Mheshimiwa Spika, na inapokopa, Mheshimiwa Spika, mwanzo tunapotengeneza budget tutaambiwa kwamba kuna malipo ya mikopo. Kwanza kabisa tulipe mikopo, lakini mikopo ile, Mheshimiwa Spika, haifaidi kaunti zetu. Mikopo ile inafaidi serikali kuu peke yake. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tumesema kwamba swala hilo lazima tutaliangalia katika mchakato wetu wa budget, kwamba iwapo serikali kuu itaendelea kukopa kiholela, wataendelea na mikopo ya kiholela, itabidi kwamba pesa zao ndio zitumike kulipa mikopo, sio zile pesa ambazo zitakuwa zimekusanywa na itolewe mikopo kwanza baadaye ndio zigawanywe. Tutasimamia kwamba pesa zigawanye kwanza, alafu wale wenye mikopo walipe mikopo yao kulingana na sheria. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo ningependa kuwasihi maseneta kwamba tukubali hii bilioni 428 ambazo tumeweza kukubaliana na wenzetu wa Bunge la Kitaifa, tukizingatia kwamba bado kuna misukosuko katika hali ya uchumi wa ulimwengu. Tumeona kwamba kumeingia suitafahamu katika guba la Uajemi, ambapo mafuta mengi yanatoka sehemu ile na bei za mafuta katika ulimwengu zimepanda, na kwa sababu hiyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, uchumi wetu utaathirika, kwa sababu uchumi wetu hauko kwenye kisiwa. Uchumi wetu uko katika ulimwengu, na ulimwengu huu ni ulimwengu ambao una mambo mengi ambayo yanatendeka. Kwa mfano, vita ambavyo vinaendelea hivi sasa baina Iran na Amerika na Israeli, hizo zote zinaathiri uchumi wetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa ni matukio ambayo yako mbali na nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono na ningependa maseneta tuunge mkono ripoti hii ya uwiano ili tuweze kusonga mbele na tuangalie ile sheria ya kara ambayo pia tayari ripoti yake bunge la kamati yetu imeweza kuiangalia na wako tayari kuileta. Swala lingine, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni la swala la equalization fund. Hivi asubuhi tulikuwa kuna tume ya fedha ya revenue ambao tulikuwa tunazungumzia policy ya 3 ya marginalization. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona kwamba bado kuna malumbukizi ya karibu bilioni 60 ya equalization fund, na tatizo lililoko ni kwamba tukishasema kwa mfano katika dora hapa kwamba equalization fund itakuwa ni bilioni, nafikiri bilioni 6 au bilioni 8 mwaka huu, baadaye kuna leto supplementary katika bunge la kitaifa na wanapunguza pesa ambazo zinakwenda kwenye equalization fund. Mheshimiwa Spika, yale malumbukizi ya madeni ya equalization fund ni bilioni 60 nayo kwa sasa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ina maana kwamba hii hazina hii ya equalization ambayo ilitarajiwa italeta usawa haitaweza kuleta usawa, na hivi sasa tumebakisha miaka 5 masuala ya hii hazina ya ustawishaji ama ya usawa iishe, na itakwisha Mheshimiwa Spika, bila ya kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba zile fedha zote ambazo zilitengwa zilipo katika hazina hii ya ustawi zimeweza kulipwa kwa zile county ama kwa zile maeneo ambayo yalikuwa yamepanga kupata hazina hizo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hili ni swala ambalo liko wazi na lazima kama bunge la Senate, kwa sababu maeneo mengi ambayo yako katika masuala haya ya equalization, zile county 33 ambazo ziko katika mfumo wa sasa, zote ziko katika himaya yetu kama Senate. Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 2 of 2026, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 10th June 2026, and that pursuant to Article 113(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order 167(3) of the Senate, approves the mediated version of the bill. I now open the floor. Senator Mungatana.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support this motion. First of all, I want to thank the team from Senate led by the Honorable Chair and the Vice Chair for the good work they have done. And Madam Speaker, we are grateful to hear that they have managed to push 13 billion more from what we had last year. So congratulations to them, and thank you for representing us well. But Madam Speaker, as we speak about this Division of Revenue bill, there are fundamental questions that we need to raise. The first question is, as much as we celebrate the fact that we have now pushed to 22% of the total revenue raised by the national government, the Constitution in 203, Article 203, on how we should deal with equitable share, it says in 203, Subarticle 2, it says that the amount that is shared to the county governments must not be less than 15%. We thank our team and the National Assembly for agreeing to 22%. But Madam Speaker, if you look at other countries like Germany, where devolution has really grown the regions that form part of Germany, this money is divided between the national government and the county governments, what would be the equivalent of county government, or 50-50, Madam Speaker. So much money goes to the counties, and the counties are able to look after themselves without having to refer to the national government. Madam Speaker, 203 of the Constitution is saying not less than 15% should go to the counties. But it does not limit at 15%. It just says not less than. So, Madam Speaker, the point I'm making here is that the national government should look seriously into the possibility of raising this in the next allocation, in the next round and in the next round, up from 22%, let us go to 35%, let us go to 50%, Madam Speaker. And it is possible. It is possible because this morning, Madam Speaker, we saw the approved estimates from our sister house, the National Assembly. And I was very curious that they have allocated 130 billion to housing. And the minister was supposed to be here this morning. And yet the same department, Madam Speaker, has already securitization, which is constructing all these buildings across the country, the markets, the hostels. Now, again, they are being allocated 130 billion. So why is it that they are having so much money? And is that function, like building markets, strictly a national government function? Madam Speaker, when you look at it sincerely, it is possible for us to go to 50% if the national government can cede some of the monies that are still being held in the headquarters here. Madam Speaker, this brings me to the next point I wish to discuss. If you look at this report, you would see at page 4 of this report that there are projects that are jointly funded between the national government and the counties. Madam Speaker, you see there's the county aggregation and industrial parks. There's the community health promoters. There is the financing locally led climate action program, FLOCA. There's the food system resilience project. And there is the National Agriculture Value Chain Development Project. Madam Speaker, agriculture is devolved. Why hold money at the national government to say you're doing a national project on value chain addition? Why holding this money? Madam Speaker, if the national government can start seeing, if the Treasury listening to me can start seeing that they are encroaching on the duties of the counties, then they will be able to see that they need to release these funds. Madam Speaker, why should we have counterpart funding on community health promoters? We have complained many times as senators that the county governments are finding it difficult. National government pays, but the county government is not paying. You'll stay 3 months, you stay 2 months before that 2,500 is paid to the CHPs. And Madam Speaker, health is a devolved government. Why should Treasury be holding to that 2,500 for the CHPs? Why can't Treasury release these funds? Madam Speaker, why should we be again holding money for county aggregation and industrial parks at the Treasury instead of this money being surrendered to the county governments? Madam Speaker, why should food resilience project be at the national level and then have counterfund funding at the county level? So, Madam Speaker, I really believe that if the national government, if the national treasury can see what we are seeing, can see what the Constitution is talking about, it is possible to move from this commendable 22% that has been given to all the way to 50% of the nationally raised revenue. Madam Speaker, and I come to my county, and I want to say, in 2024, Tana River County, for example, and I'm giving an example here of the Agriculture Department, 548,608,768 was allocated for agriculture, livestock, fisheries, and veterinary services. Madam Speaker, 166 million went into recurrent, 381 went into project and infrastructure in those departments, which represented 6.8% of the total equitable share that went to Tana River County. But Madam Speaker, when you look again at how that budget it goes, you will see that most of the projects that the county was saying that it will execute are actually national projects. Almost all of them that form the development vote, because the 166 million, all of it went to recurrent. So why is the national government doing the work at the county level? We have employees there, we have officers there in the Department of Agriculture, we have our priorities in Tana River County, we have our money that should have been used. Why should national government come and do that same work? Why should we have this kind of confusion, Madam Speaker? So, we may be saying here that we are happy to move the money from 415 to 428 billion for all the counties, which is commendable from our representatives in this committee. But Madam Speaker, the question still begs, why is the national government encroaching into county affairs? Madam Speaker, why is it that in the agriculture department, and I'm talking about Tana River County, why is it that all the development is being done through national programs? Why can't this money just be surrendered to the Department of Agriculture in Tana River County? And it's because the national government is not accepting devolution to be what it is. We have to start accepting that these counties are the next level of government. It is like the national government, it's like the National Treasury has still not accepted that we have county governments that are doing the work that they are supposed to be doing. Why should we have food resilience programs being carried out from Nairobi? And Madam Speaker, what these people do is that because they have no connection with the local people, they would come, for example, to start a program in irrigation. They are told by the local people, this water, normally this is a seasonal river. We should dig this dam, let's dam it at that place because it is a seasonal river. People from Nairobi, because they have the money, they are the decision makers, they don't listen to the locals. They come and create a dam away from the seasonal river. So I have seen it myself, Madam Speaker. And then when you want to do the oversight, you are told this is a national government program. The dam has been created away from the seasonal river. Of course, then when the seasonal river comes, the water is not dammed. That water is lost. The money has been spent from the national government, and then the people are not benefiting from that money. Madam Speaker, I am just wondering, why is it that the national government cannot leave? Why are they still clinging to money? And practically, I'm giving that example. That's what happens. People come from Nairobi, they come from Tana River, they say this is a food security system, resilient program. We need to do a dam. They have decided that from Nairobi. And then they are being told by the locals, no, don't dam this seasonal river here, dam it on this other side. They go and dam another place. And then that money is spent. They are the ones who do the procurement. They are the ones who do the awarding of contracts, and they do it to their friends. So the dam is created away from the seasonal river. That money is lost. There's still no food resilience and the support to create food security in that particular area is not achieved. Madam Speaker, I am urging National Treasury, I am urging national government to think again. Let us release all the money down to the county governments. The argument that is always given that county governments may not be using the money as it is supposed to, that is a different argument. Let us first get that money into the county governments. Let us deal with the first problem first. And I keep saying, Madam Speaker, there are no angels at the National Treasury. There are no angels. The same officers who are trained in the same agriculture training college, veterinary training college, they are the same ones who are sitting in the county governments, who are sitting in the National Treasury, in the national government. These people should not create the impression that when they are the ones executing the function, there's no corruption. It is false, Madam Speaker. It is very true that at the national, there is as much problem in terms of management of funds as there is in the county. So let us disaggregate these problems. What we want to say, more money must be released to the counties. Other countries have done it, and they have really grown. And it is possible for our country to move from this 22% we have achieved. We go higher to 30%, to 50%, so that county governments can start operating as they should. Madam Speaker, with those very many remarks, I support the motion, the mediated version. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Veronica Maina.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity you have given me. And I want to also thank the committee members, the senators who sat in this mediation committee to negotiate how much should be allocated to the county governments. I believe they were protecting the interests of the county governments when they went to the mediation committee. Honorable Speaker, it's become a trend now that many bills that are forwarded from Senate or amendments that are forwarded from Senate to National Assembly most likely meet the same verdict. They are rejected. So increasingly we are ending up as senators in mediation committees with National Assembly, but we are happy to note that they have come back with the revised version or an agreeable version of the DORA bill. Honorable Speaker, first I want to commend that they were able to get an additional 13 billion for the counties. And for those who have doubted the purpose of the existence of Senate, need to know today that if Senate was not there, counties would be less $13 billion in this version of DORA. 13 billion shillings. Honorable Speaker, I also want to note the inclusion of one clause, clause number 5, that has now allowed the national government to be able, I want to read out that clause number 5, which is a good introduction to this bill, that if the actual revenue raised nationally in the financial year falls short of the expected revenue set out in the schedule, the shortfall shall be borne by the national government. So the national government gets to guarantee any shortfall that comes within the budget cycle. And if the actual revenue raised nationally in the financial year exceeds the projected revenue set out in the schedule, the excess revenue shall be accrued to the national government and may be used to reduce borrowing or offset debts. Because it is important for us to know how to manage our debt. And the senator for Muranga is really distracting me as I'm on my feet, together with Senator for Laikipia.
Order, Senator for Muranga and Senator for Laikipia.
Thank you, Speaker.
You don't have to laugh loudly.
Thank you, Speaker. I do not know why they are laughing loudly. Maybe it's because yesterday they were not laughing. They were very sad. I saw them in the in that press conference they were holding, but we encourage them.
Senator Veronica, can you proceed?
Honorable Speaker, I withdraw that comment. I withdraw that
she
comment.
Has already withdrawn. Can
before you even intervene. And Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that any excess revenue should be used to reduce borrowing and offset debts. And I find this to be very optimistic of the mediation committee to have come up with that clause, because it means they had an open mind that we may not only deal with a shortfall, but we could also deal with excess revenue. And this is the mindset we need to have both at the national level and the county level, that we should see our economy and our country going to a point where we have excess liquidity, which can then manage and offset the debt we have as a nation. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, if we had this kind of a mindset, we would see reduction of corruption even within the counties, that every county should be working towards ensuring that their allocation is expended in a proper manner, managed in a good, professional and ethical manner, Honorable Speaker, devoid of any corruption that causes this nation to waste so much. We must be able to close out on all the gaps that we are having in our expenditure, Honorable Speaker, and start to see revenue coming in excess. I like that mindset, and I hope that the counties, as they take up this budget, that counties will be more responsible in how they expend resources that are allocated to them from the annual budgets. Honorable Speaker, when I look at what has been allocated to the counties, that is 428 billion, Honorable Speaker, This is revenue, Honorable Speaker, that they should be able to expend in the right way. If we look at a county like Murang'a County, Honorable Speaker, the last 2 days, we have seen the ECD teachers going on strike because those ECD teachers, some of them are earning below 6,000 Kenyan shillings. And we saw the increment that Governor Kang'ata has given to these ECD teachers caused the ECD teachers to march to the gates of Murang'a County. They did not even have the energy to demonstrate, Honorable Speaker. The only energy they had was to kneel down at the gate of Murang'a County and start praying for that county and for the governor. These are not the kind of images we want for our counties or from our governors. We want to see governors at the level of Governor Irungu Kang'ata not being able every day being schooled by ECD teachers about what P&P means in contract terms for laborers or for people who are working within the county. These are basic things that governors must be able to sort out. And if a county cannot sort out ECD, that a governor only is able to decide that children need porridge, but does not know that they need to maintain the teachers, the ECD teachers, with proper terms and conditions of contract, Honorable Speaker, their labor contracts, then something is amiss, something is very wrong. And if governors cannot sort out basics with what has been allocated now, we should not sit as Kenyans and imagine that the day we allocate 600 billion to governors or to counties, then we are going to have prudent expenditure of the resources that are being sent to the counties. So mine is to call upon the counties not to embarrass themselves with basic programs like the ECD. The best interest of children, Honorable Speaker. You know, ECD deals with the youngest, most vulnerable members of our community. It's our most precious gifts that we send to the ECDs, Honorable Speaker. And if a governor cannot take care of ECD teachers, is only able to give them a cup of porridge in the morning. After you give the cup of porridge, the porridge is good, it feeds the child, it's nutrition, and it is important to have that assurance they can have a simple meal in school. But beyond the meal, can we see the resource that is supporting that ECD program being taken care of so that those children can basically have a minder or a teacher who guides them through the day? So, Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to congratulate the committee, the mediation committee, for the work they have done. It is commendable. And to also say that National Assembly can also make work easier for everybody and make it more seamless. Some of the proposals made by Senate, especially like the one that was made before the amendments were sent to the National Assembly, some of them make a lot of sense. We have a lot of resources here in this Senate, Honorable Speaker. By the time a whole group of 67 senators have sat, used the government resources, used public resources, used their time to sit here and legislate on amendments and bettered some of the legislation that is coming from National Assembly, and it is sent to National Assembly and all they can do is reject. Sometimes they need to give very good reasons, Honorable Speaker. If you count the number of degrees in this Senate, Honorable Speaker, plus PhDs, I don't know whether we have professors. We have Professor Margaret Kamar. I think we need a few more professors. Maybe we will then convince. Now, Professor Tom Ojienda, how can I forget the one who did the impeachment proceedings, defended Senate? We have such heavy resource within the Senate. And I am reminded of the very Senator Sifuna from Nairobi County. I hear his name, Senator Sifuna, is being, I'm being given the name Sifuna is one of the biggest resources, which is true. Honorable Speaker, we have a heavy resource in the Senate. And if it can be utilized properly, we will not waste people's time. Mediations, 6 meetings over 1 month or over 2 months on just basic rudimentary principles and amendments that were made to better the legislation that came from National Assembly. I hope the National Assembly can now respect the Senate and allow Senate to do its work in a seamless manner. And even all those bills that are stuck in the National Assembly, it is high time that National Assembly looked at them with respectful lenses and allowed those legislations to pass within the National Assembly. And with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I wish to support this report and to say that the committee has done a good job and to keep on this track. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for granting me the opportunity to also add my voice to this debate on the motion on the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill. Madam Speaker, I want to begin by thanking the committee under the able leadership of the Senator for Mandera, Senator Ali Roba, who is continuously the Speaker and progressively distinguishing himself as a true defender of devolution. As a senator, having served as a governor, and I think he understands the nuances that that happen in that other space. Senator Chelagai keeps reminding me that that's where I'm heading, and I have no problem with that. Madam Speaker, I will have around 3 things to say about this report. First of all is to associate myself with my brother, my neighbor, Senator Mugatana. But I hasten to add something, Madam Speaker, that you see, actually the Constitution contemplates that the allocations that we give to county governments should not be less than 15% of the nationally collected revenue. My colleagues, if you look at that provision of the Constitution critically, you realize that there is no minimum to the national government. There is no minimum allocation to the national government, which actually, by extension, it means we could reach a point where we allocate a lot more money to counties from the nationally collected revenue than that we allocate to the national government, because there is no minimum to the national government. And so, Madam Speaker, I want to also remind my colleagues, yes, we will sit here and be very grateful that we have gotten 13 billion shillings more to our counties. We are now at 22% of the nationally collected revenues. But my brother, Senator Mugatana, we may also want to reflect on it is 22% of which revenue, which financial year. Because perhaps if we did 22% of the current collections, or last year's financial year collections, then maybe we'll be talking about a lot more money going to the counties. In which case, then we have to push through the Finance and Budget Committee and a collective responsibility to push our colleagues in the National Assembly to fast track the audits of the collections from the national government so that we are up to date. So now we are talking about collections for national revenue. We are perhaps not talking about 25-26 financial year audited accounts. Madam Speaker, the second thing that I want to add on this motion is a situation where the national government gives, or the National Treasury gives with the right hand but takes away from the county governments with the left hand. Why do I say this? Madam Speaker, through the back door, the national government is increasingly budgeting for county governments. Through, and I'll give 2 examples. I'll give the example of KIPES, where a determination is made at the national government that every county government will have a KIPE. The national government will put in 250 million Kenya shillings, and the county government will put in 250 million Kenya shillings. Madam Speaker, that is a decision made at the national level. And the county governments have no say. They just have to comply. So, the Committee on Finance and Budget, I've just done very simple calculation. Yes, we have gotten 13 billion Kenya shillings more. But look at it this way. Out of the 47 county governments, each county government is supposed to give 250 million Kenya shillings for its own CAIP. If you multiply 250 million Kenya shillings by 47, you get 11.75 billion Kenya shillings. So yes, we have sent 13 billion additional to county governments, but the national government has decided that 11.7 billion Kenya shillings of this money that we are giving you is going to CAIPs. And there's nothing the county governments can do about that. What about a reversal of that situation? Where then if the national government has decided that they are going to co-fund these projects, why can't they calculate the amount of the co-funding from the national government and release it in one lump sum to county governments as additional allocation to county governments in the budget? So that it's not a situation where we give county governments money, but we dictate to them how they are going to spend that money. The same thing, Madam Speaker, applies to the CHPs. You know, a determination has been made that nationally we are going to have 107,831 CHPs across the country. The national government will give 2,500 shillings. The county governments will give another 2,500 shillings to the CHPs. A simple calculation tells you that the county governments in totality will have to spend around 270 million Kenya shillings every month to take care of the CHPs. Why can the national government send the money for CHPs in the budget as part of the equitable share as additional allocation to county governments? Madam Speaker, if we are not careful, what will happen is that we will be told that there has been additional monies sent to counties, but those monies, Madam Speaker, are budgeted by the national government. Because these expenditures are non-discretionary. It's not like the discretion of a county to spend or not to spend. It is non-discretionary. Madam Speaker, I am happy that Senator Veronica has noted that any shortfall in the revenues collected nationally within the budget cycle, that shortfall must be borne by the national government. But Mr. Speaker, there should be no argument that after we have agreed on this amount that we have sent to county governments, there should be no argument at any one given time within this financial year that somebody is going to touch the allocations to county governments. If there is a shortfall in collections for whatever reason, the national government should bear that shortfall. Additionally, I mean, it cuts both ways. If by whatever miracle, then the national government, the treasury is able to collect a lot more than has been projected, the county government will not go and say we want a share of what more you have collected. The national government can use that to service national debt. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, let me address myself to the leaderships of the county governments. Madam Speaker, we are here debating additional funds to county governments. And Madam Speaker, we have just come from a very ugly and unpleasant situation with county governors, where a section just decided that they would not want to be held accountable for the resources that are allocated to them. Madam Speaker, it should be noted by the county governors that accountability for national resources, for resources allocated to county governments, including resources from own source revenue. Accountability for those resources, Madam Speaker, is not a favor to the Senate, is not a favor to the people in the counties. It is a constitutional obligation. And then, Madam Speaker, I found time to follow discussions on that mediation. And I don't believe it was easy. There is no mediation that is easy. And we have heard what our colleague has just told us, Senator Faki, that the members of the National Assembly would be giving an additional 1 million per sitting. Next time they do another 1 million. 1 billion. And I was wondering then, Senator Tabitha and your team, you should have waited a little longer to get other additional 1 billion, you know, so that we get to 450. Perhaps you should have waited a little longer. Yeah, given like 50 days, you'd have asked for additional time, you know, so that we get to 450 billion. But that be as it may, you have done your job. I mean, you have delivered at least something better than what we had. Yeah? Now, what we are saying is this. At the time that the Senate and the representatives of the Senate spent pushing for the additional monies to counties, I mean, it should not be taken for granted. It is the same thing, Madam Speaker, that happened to the county governments of 12 counties, including Nandi and Samburu and I think Taita Taveta, and I think Laikipia was also there. Madam Speaker, we sat here and, you know, out of our clean hearts and our love for devolution, we invoked the provisions of Article 203 of the Constitution on affirmative action and said other counties were ready to lose some little money so that we can get a little more to the 12 counties. And we agreed, Madam Speaker, that when we give those additional monies to those counties, what was going to happen is that we were going to ring-fence those monies and spend them on critical projects. Madam Speaker, immediately the governors received that money. They completely disappeared and forgot that there was a deal on how that money was supposed to be used. And now they are running away from accountability on how that money has been spent. Madam Speaker, let county governors be accountable for the resources that we send to them. And I want to address myself, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, to my county government in Kitui, that, Madam Speaker, there is a tussle. And Madam Speaker, I am trying to mediate as much as I can. If, Madam Speaker, I don't succeed in that mediation, I'll be asking the Committee on Devolution, Madam Speaker, to step in and help us to mediate between the County Assembly and the County Executive on matters of budget. Now, there was an argument that they were waiting for DORA to be passed so they can agree on certain issues. This is going to pass anytime soon, Madam Speaker. And I hope that both the Executive and the County Assembly of Kitui will realize that the monies that we sent to Kitui are monies that are supposed to help people in the county from Usweni in the north to Athi in the south, from Endau Malalani, Madam Speaker, in the east to the Ananzao in the west. So, Madam Speaker, it is not money that should be a source of conflict or dispute between the two levels, two arms of government, but it is money that should be appropriated in harmony between the county assembly and the executive to benefit our people. Because when the executive and the assembly are unable to agree on budget issues, Madam Speaker, it is not them that are suffering. It is the people of Kitui who need water, who need better health care, who need support in agriculture, who need their roads to be fixed, Madam Speaker, who need their ECDs to be fixed. Madam Speaker, with those many remarks, I support the report on the motion. Thank you.
Senator Ledama.
Madam Speaker, let me begin by thanking my co-members of the Mediation Committee for the good work and the amount of hours that each one of us dedicated to mediating to a compromised figure. And I just want to state it clearly here that the compromise figure of 418 and 28 billion was not really meant to come out as a defeat of the counties, but rather a figure that can be able to allow counties to be able to work. Having sat in that committee, and I just want to take a few minutes to be able to demystify a few things and plead with both sides of the aisle to be able to support this mediated version of the Division of Revenue Bill, I got an opportunity to interact with figures, be realistic on the current situation of finances in this country. Madam Speaker, we've got Article 223 of the Constitution of Kenya. And if you look at the way the national government has been operating, just in the last year, there has been over-reliance on Article 223. And Article 223 is an article in the Constitution that allows supplementary budgets or other expenditures outside the budget. We realize that in the past, this country had a habit of spending money outside the budget. That was one of the issues that we noted that keeps on encouraging supplementary over supplementary. This is one of the reasons why I was convinced that the money that we negotiated to go to counties is money that will at least reach counties. The 428 billion, that is money that the Constitution protects, and that money will be able to go to the counties. The money that is appropriated by the national government, most of that money end up just being good on paper. Because if that money was there, there would be no point of having a supplementary budget. So, Madam Speaker, the position that we took yesterday was a position that defends the interest of counties to guarantee at least the 428 billion. Madam Speaker, the reality in this country today is that Kenya owes about $80 billion to foreign debts, foreign and domestic debt. In fact, as of Monday next week, 85 billion shillings will be due to be paid. And if that money is not paid, Kenya will default in its payment. So, colleagues, this figure of 428 billion was not what we thought would go to the counties. It was less than even the figure that the constitutional body, which has been tasked to recommend on how money should be shared, which is the Commission of Revenue Allocation, had proposed. Madam Speaker, when I sat here, and I just wanted to maybe correct my brother, the distinguished senator from Kitui, on the notion that this issue of KIPES in counties, it is something which is mandatory. The way I understand the role of county governments, and particularly looking at Article 217 and Article 219 of the Constitution, when it comes to the issue of financial management of counties, it is not a must that counties agree to what the national government dictates to them. In fact, the notion that the national government dictates to counties on how to spend their money, that notion is far-fetched. What is there is a challenge when it comes to the issue of leadership in the county governments. That project, Madam Speaker, is a co-funded project. And I think every county governor who would want to see an industrial park built in their county, instead of agreeing with the national government that they will co-fund 250 million shillings to be able to build the aggregated industrial park, the first thing they should do is to take it to the assembly, discuss it, take it to the public and budget for it. Once you budget, then you can be able to do it. If you have not budgeted it, there's no point of you going to agree with the national government. No one is holding a gun on your head to say that you must now do what the national government wants. So, Madam Speaker, it is imperative for us to separate fact from fiction. And I want to beseech colleagues that, one, the mediation committee succeeded in ensuring that if there is a shortfall on revenue collection in the country, the national government will absorb that shortfall. That is a repeated clause that the National Assembly, each and every financial year, attempts to remove. But I'm so happy that our budget committee are so keen in ensuring that that clause remains so that it protects county governments. And it's also in line with Article 219 of the Constitution of Kenya that talks about the share of revenue which has been allocated to counties shall be released without undue delay or any deduction. So, Madam Speaker, that was a win for this county, for our counties. Number two, Madam Speaker, adding 13 billion to 415 billion to making it 428 billion was also a win. You know, we know what is happening around the world. The prices of fuel are going up. Recently, Madam Speaker, I was in France. And I was driving and I rented a car. And when I went to fill gasoline, a liter of diesel or gasoline was retailing at 370 shillings at the pump. And that is when I said, in Kenya, I think we're either a spoiled lot or we are very lucky, because we complain about everything. So, Madam Speaker, our mediated version of DORA settles a long, prolonged dispute between the National Assembly and the Senate in terms of dividing the resources that are collected by the national government. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate on the points that were brought by my colleague, Senator Mungatana, on the need for us to enhance a fiduciary responsibility. National Assembly must now move expeditiously to consider the Auditor General report, current report. Madam Speaker, my colleague, Senator Mungatana, said that we are getting 23% of revenue going to the counties. What if we had considered 2024-2025 financial year? That 23% you are seeing there, my good brother, would probably be 8%. So I think it is important that National Assembly pull up their socks to make sure that we are current. While we are at the mediation committee, my good brother Senator Eddie Okech raised a very valid question and asked this question: what if a Kenyan, and you know the way Kenyans were just ordinary litigants. You know, I think the judiciary makes a lot of money from files, cases which are being filed on a daily basis. What if someone goes there and says that money should not be sent to counties or should not be divided between county and national government because the figures which are being used to determine are figures from 2-3 years ago? I think it's about time that we put discipline in our institution. Both Parliament and the executive must be in the front line to inculcate discipline, financial discipline, accountability, so that we can be able to teach future generations that when we were here, we made sure that we solve problems that have taken us so many years to solve. I'm happy that this Senate, the Committee on Public Accounts, and also the Committee on Public Investments are ahead of their game. And that is not because of our own doing, but because someone out there went out and questioned the work that we are doing. Finally, Madam Speaker, to the county governors. We took a lot of time to mediate, to negotiate. My sister Tabitha had alluded to the fact that we're being treated to a musical chairs of getting $1 billion here, $1 billion here, but we stood firm for you. I want to plead with you to ensure a fiduciary responsibility. The money that we are sending to the counties, that money must reach the poorest of the poor. It is sad when we sit here and burn midnight oil to make sure that we fight for you to get that money. But when we call you to come and account, it becomes long stories. And when you have the money, you don't do what is supposed to be done. This Senate has done its job. A lot of people, Madam Speaker, do not understand the work of senators. They think the work of senators is to run around fundraisings, villages on a daily basis. Our work is to be able to put discipline in institutions. We have managed, Madam Speaker, to make sure that we send more money to counties. We have managed, Madam Speaker, to make sure that we develop legislations that will support the current and future generations. It now behooves the county governors also to play their role. This money does not belong to them. A lot of governors run counties as if it's their personal kiosk. It is not. This Senate, particularly the Committee of PAC, has managed to be able to compromise, and instead of sticking to the cash basis of accounting, to go into the accrual basis of accounting because of the trade payables or pending bills that are choking this economy. We move from pending bills to trade payables. It doesn't change, it's still the same thing. So, Madam Speaker, county assemblies, do your job. Ensure that these trade payables become the first charge of the account, so that the money that we send to you, don't start new projects if you've not paid suppliers. A lot of people are committing suicide, Madam Speaker. That's the reality. You go and take a loan, you're auctioned, and you took a loan because the law, the PFM Act, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposable Act, prohibit any county government or any institution to prepare for services. In fact, it's not even like going to the shop. And maybe we might want to consider a situation where I deliver a bottle of milk, you pay me. I deliver a bottle of water, you pay me. But this business where we have legislation that will allow you have to tender. Once you tender, you supply everything, and then now you start billing. When you are billing, and these senators send money to the counties to pay you, they start telling you stories of, oh, the money is in IB. Oh, the problem is the control of budget. You know? The same discipline that the Ministry of Transport has been able to instill in its system, whereby there are no current pending bills of all road contractors, is the same thing that we need to borrow to send to our counties. A county that will stand here and say, we do not owe anybody money is a county, or rather a county governor, would be one that would be seen as wanting to grow and to narrow the gap between the rich and the poor. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to plead with my colleagues to support this motion so that we can be able to complete division of revenue, start immediately the process of CARA, and then after CARA is done, we do the cash disbursable schedule, and then send money to counties. And then from there, we can now follow up and we can be able to ask questions. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ledama. Honorable Senators, I have a communication from the Chair on a visiting delegation of teachers and students from Genda Mixed Secondary School from Murang'a County, the county where yours truly comes from. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon a visiting delegation of 4 teachers and 92 students from Genda Mixed Secondary School in Murang'a County. The delegation is visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. I will now request Senator Karungo Dangwa from the neighboring county to welcome this delegation together with Senator Consolata Wako-Bubi, who is a former teacher.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I take this opportunity to welcome the delegation from Murang'a, that is Genda School. Yes, I'm the Senator of Kiambu. Kiambu neighbors Murang'a, Thika, Madam Speaker, and Senator Nyoto was here, who is your senator, a very aggressive senator, and someone who stands for his people. He was here a few minutes ago, so I'm given this opportunity to welcome you on his behalf. And he had told me that for sure he will continue fighting for his people in Murang'a, and especially when it comes to education, because he understands that once we have an educated lot, counties becomes better. So mine is to say welcome, and whenever you are around Kiambu, come and say hi. Thank you.
Senator Wako-Bubi. Clerk, can you give her the mic?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to welcome the visiting delegation to the Senate. On my own behalf and on behalf of the Senate, I wish to welcome you cordially to the Senate, and I expect that your learning experiences and whatever you are going to share from the Senate will form a springboard for your future development as aspiring leaders in this country. Formerly as a teacher, I like impressing so much on discipline, teamwork, and unity amongst all the education stakeholders. So remember, as you get back to your schools, you must have borrowed the best practices from the Senate. Look at the way the honorable senators are deliberating inside here, and I know you'll be motivated to go and work smart. On behalf of the Senate, I also want to wish you well in your studies, or rather in your academic pursuits, and I want to encourage you to shun bad manners. Because of recent times, we've witnessed a wave of unrest in schools. Please learn to dialogue, learn to share with your teachers, with your mentors, and anybody within the school setting on whatever grievances you have amicably, so that they are sorted out amicably. Otherwise, I want Senator, Honorable Speaker, I'm getting a lot of disturbance from Senator Mundigi and Senator Tabitha.
Senator Tabitha and Senator Mundigi, please maintain order. Finish. Finalize, Senator Consolata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the protection. I wish I had a cane, but then I don't have one. So I want to wish you well in your studies, and thank you, teachers and the stakeholders who have accompanied our dear students. With love from the Senate, thank you.
Senator Consolata, you sound like you are introducing the cane from the floor of Senate. Thank you, Senator Consolata. Senator Sifuna.
Madam Speaker, thank you for letting me take after teachers. You know I am a son of a teacher myself. Speaker, these days sections of the media in this country call me the embattled Secretary General of ODM. And the matter that is before consideration this morning on the Senate is part of where my problems began. You know, Speaker, on the 22nd of July 2025, I appeared on one of his popular shows on Citizen TV and declared a very famous MOU dead because I was growing continuously exasperated at the pace or lack thereof of implementation of that MOU. One of the critical things or provisions of that MOU, Honorable Speaker, was that a promise was made to my party and my former party leader, the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, that in fact, because ODM believes in devolution and we call ourselves the party of devolution, that in the financial year 2025-2026, we were expecting that counties would receive 450 billion Kenya shillings in allocation. Speaker, I ran into a lot of problems on the floor of this House during debate in March of this year after the meeting that happened at KICC that sought to extend that MOU. And I remember saying on the floor of this House that I was extremely embarrassed. I was extremely embarrassed that my colleagues in this House were present at KICC clapping and ululating when the head of state was saying counties are going to receive 450 billion Kenya shillings, and yet we could not see the money. In fact, my senior, the senator from Narok, the Honorable Edamo Lekina, almost, he almost skinned me alive. But here we are now. I want to make it clear, Honorable Speaker, that my entire tribulations and trials in the ODM party are because of my continued insistence on implementation of the promises that were made by none other than the head of state to the family of devolution, to the ODM party, and most significantly, to the late Raila Amolo Odinga. Honorable Speaker, what is most embarrassing is that Baba is being betrayed by his own people. By his own people. On this one, I'm not even going to blame William Ruto. For the first time, I am going to excuse the president on this one. We thought as members of ODM that after we have the head of treasury coming from ODM and is a former chairman of ODM, shame on you, Honorable Mbadi. You have shamed Baba because wherever he is right now, he's wondering how is it possible that my main man is the head of treasury and they're the ones taking us around in circles here. It is even further annoying that the head of budget, the chair of budget in the National Assembly, Samuel Atandi, member of parliament from Alego, elected on ODM, is the one betraying Baba's dream to see 450 billion Kenya shillings going to devolved units. I am deeply embarrassed as the SG of ODM, that our own members can be the ones frustrating the dream of Raila in trying to make sure that resources are devolved to counties. I was following the mediation process, Honorable Speaker, and it is Samuel Atandi who is repeatedly telling us that there is no money to give senators, or not senators, to give counties. It is extremely embarrassing. Madam Speaker, yesterday we had a debate here on another bill, the Feeds and Food Safety Bill, and we were lamenting here that the National Assembly always trashes the reasoning of the Senate on every single matter. So, Madam Speaker, I look at this report of the Mediation Committee, look at the reasoning of the National Assembly as to why we cannot be given 450 billion as a family of devolution. They have given two reasons there. At paragraph 7 of that report, Honorable Speaker, you will see that they are saying revenue shortfalls. They have given revenue shortfalls as one of the excuses. And then they have said that the House observed that the allocation of 420 billion as the equitable share to county governments was informed by prioritizing of expenditures of national interest, including public debt obligations and other national commitments. When the National Assembly defines national interest, the counties don't feature anywhere as an ingredient of national interest. Then you go to page 3 of that report, Honorable Speaker, and you see the reasoning of the Senate. From paragraph 11, we have taken time to explain to the National Assembly why counties need these resources. These guys just do voodoo math. They just pull numbers from the air. Whereas the Senate sits down and tells them point by point why we need this extra allocation. Number one, there are mandatory obligations that have been put on the Senate, including, Honorable Speaker, annual salary adjustments of county government workers. They are always here at our gate protesting because counties are unable to honor their obligations under CBS. Additionally, county governments are in arrears in implementing the third and fourth remuneration and benefits review cycle as recommended by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, amounting to 10 billion Kenya shillings. We gave another reason. We thought that it would find favor with Atandi and his friends. Joint funding of national government programs that counties are expected to finance mandatory obligations, including KIPES, CHPs, FLOCA, and food systems resilience projects. Speaker, I heard the senator from Narok during his submissions saying, oh, counties have to find a way to accommodate national government when it comes to some of these projects, the counties that need these KIPES. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, we have members of the County Public Accounts Committee in this House. We have had governors, such as the good governor from Makueni, the Honorable Mutula Kilonzo, appearing before us and telling us that in Makueni they specifically told the national government that they did not need that county aggregation and industrial parks. But because the national government has said they have to be built, in fact, if you look at the design of those KIPES, it is the same throughout all the counties. So for them, really, the interest is in the building, not whether they are a necessity in these counties. So it was forced down his throat, and he has to accept and to co-finance it, even though it is not in the interest of the people. Then we have said that there is a need for stability and predictable county budgets. Honorable Speaker, we in this Senate passed a very useless bill called the disbursement schedule. Every single year, not a single year has the National Treasury, led by that John Badi, Honorable Speaker, ever honored the disbursement schedule that we pass in this House. We just pass these laws to tick boxes. When has the Treasury, the National Treasury, ever complied with that disbursement schedule? And then sometimes you'll hear very senior people in government, they go around in rallies and saying, counties, we are up to date with their disbursement. And yet the county governors come and tell us a very different story, Honorable Speaker. We can go on and on, but the Senate always presents very reasoned arguments as to why we need this money. And then you have Samuel Atandi there, the chair of budget, waiting for you. He says, oh, there is no money today. He goes for lunch, comes back, says, oh, we will add 1 billion. He just pulls figures from there. There is no scientific process in Atandi's head that results in the allocations under this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. So it is deeply embarrassing. And I want the people of Kenya to know that the people who are betraying the dream of devolution are members of ODM. They are the ones betraying the dream of devolution. If Samuel Atandi, as the chair of budget, put his foot down, and he comes from Siaya, he passes by Raila's grave every day. Can you imagine, Honorable Speaker? This is somebody who comes from Siaya. He calls himself Baba's child. In fact, I was seeing on social media, even the DJs who perform at their events are not being paid. And I want Atandi to see me on TV there. If he doesn't pay that DJ by the end of this week, he will see that DJ in Thika, because Nitalinda huyo DJ. It is embarrassing, deeply embarrassing, Honorable Speaker. They even go around crying that, oh, the national government has refused to pay ODM the 12 billion shillings that is owed under the political parties fund. You are the ones in charge of the basket. You are the ones in charge of the basket. It's like you going home, Honorable Speaker. You are the one who has the basket, and you can't even put aside some flour for your own children. They are looking at you giving other people money, and your own children are starving. You are the ones in charge of the basket, Atandi, and Honorable Mbadi. For heaven's sake, you are embarrassing us as a party. We are embarrassed. Instead of crying like the rest of us here, why don't you just take the money and put it in the budget? And then they tell us that there are shortfalls in revenue. Honorable Speaker, I will not tire in saying how much embarrassed I am as a Secretary General of ODM. The National Assembly, Honorable Speaker, uses 4 methods to deny counties money. The first one is the base amount that they use to calculate the revenue. Article 203 of the Constitution, sub-article 2, says that in every financial year, counties should not receive less than 15% of the revenue that has been received, audited, and approved. Now, what they do is they ensure that they are never up to date. They are never up to date with the audited reports. We here in the Senate, the County Public Accounts Committee, of which I'm a member, is proudly chaired by a member of ODM who understands what ODM stands for, the senator from Homa Bay, Moses Kajwang. We in this House have already adopted, and we did adopt, Honorable Speaker, the last year's financials, Honorable Speaker, the audited accounts of counties. We adopted them in March. We are up to date. Even in our meetings right now, we are only looking to see, in terms of follow-up, where these counties are. Can you imagine, Honorable Speaker, if you look at that report, that the amount that is being used to calculate the share to county governments is from 2022-2023 financial year. And I'm not quite sure who chairs the County Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. I suspect it's also another member of ODM. Yes, the Honorable Tindi Mwale. He's embarrassing us as a political party, because it is his responsibility and the responsibility of his committee to ensure that they are up to date. These are the people who are letting down Baba. These are the people who are killing the dream of devolution. Honorable Speaker, these are the people who should be held before the disciplinary committee of the party, not Sifuna. Not Sifuna for insisting that we need to implement the MOU that Baba signed himself. The second thing, Honorable Speaker, is borrowing. Just before I depart from that issue of the base amount, because, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the revenue for 2022-2023, it is stated to be 2.050 trillion Kenyan shillings. If they were using current audited accounts, in the last financial year, Honorable Speaker, we were at 2.571 trillion. That is not an insignificant amount. That's over 571 billion Kenyan shillings. It's not an insignificant amount. And if you applied 15% on that amount, you would see the revenue of counties going up. The second thing is the question of borrowing, Honorable Speaker. As we know, even yesterday, when we were debating this bill on food safety, one of the reasons that was advanced by the National Assembly on why county governments and their departments cannot be considered authorized entities, they said that they are not recognized internationally. Now, when it comes to borrowing in this country, the only level of government that is able to borrow, especially from foreign markets, Honorable Speaker, is the national government. So the counties are unable to access this. But when it comes to the calculation of the shareable revenue, first, the national government takes away what they call national interest and national obligations in repayment of debt. And one of the arguments that I have made is that whereas under the family of devolution, we can see a schedule of 47 counties, and we know Murang'a has gotten X, Bungoma has gotten Y, Nairobi has gotten Y. We don't see a similar schedule of the spending or expenditure of this debt that we have accumulated in projects across our counties. If you ask the people of Bungoma, do they know how much money is spent in Murang'a or in Mandera? From the national basket, they don't. And when people complain, you hear some other people saying, oh, but you also get money. What have you done with the money that we've allocated to you? This figure of 424 is insignificant compared to the amount that is retained by the national government. And so nobody should be able to make those arguments. In fact, I want to make a promise here that once we establish government in 2027, one of the things we are going to do, Honorable Speaker, is to make sure that we only use the resources that we raise. This issue of borrowing is the one that is also killing devolution. And when you ask National Treasury, our friend John Badi will go to, what is it called, Jivanji here, and sell lies to Kenyans, open lies, about the state of debt in this country. We will also, Honorable Speaker, have to assail the public expenditure in this country so that we can do away with this borrowing. If Mwai Kibaki was able to balance our budget, Honorable Speaker, it can be done. It can be done. We see a lot of wastage in this country. We see a lot of largesse just being thrown around. Can you imagine, Speaker? I don't know if I can ask the Speaker a question directly, but the rules don't allow. Madam Speaker, just think, when was the last time you replaced the roof of your house? Then there is this specter where somebody replaces the roof of State House every 2 weeks because he has the money. If he doesn't like the color because it has rained and it has faded, somebody just decides, oh, we don't like the shape of the roof. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. In fact, we were discussing with one of the senators here. Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Abdul? Abdul, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. My point of order is on the content of speech of Senator Sifuna, and I was really following his contribution, which was very good until the point where he decided not to give us facts on the issue of changing the roof every 2 weeks. Can the Senator please substantiate that? Because it's kind of ridiculous to make such a statement when we, I don't know, maybe Cherargei knows if the roof in State House is being changed every 2 weeks. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Abdul. Senator Sifuna, you have made a sweeping allegation of roofs being changed every 2 weeks. Can you substantiate?
Madam Speaker, I wanted it to sound ridiculous so that it can actually puncture the conscience of these members of this House. It might not be every 2 weeks.
Senator
but Madam Speaker,
Sifuna, you may proceed
yes,
then to withdraw that statement.
Let me not say every 2 weeks, Madam Speaker, because I don't have that evidence.
So can you
but in the life of this Parliament,
withdraw that statement.
I have withdrawn.
Okay, proceed.
Madam Speaker, in the life of this Parliament, we have seen changes to State House more than we have seen in the past 10 years. And that's the point I was making. In fact, we were joking even here in Parliament, and the members of the Secretariat of the Senate don't like me talking about Parliament. Since I came into this Parliament, that main door there has changed more times than I can remember. I mean, which senator complained about the door? We even have a new desk that I don't know if it is the Sergeant at Arms who liked that new design, but at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, Kenyans can see that there is a lot of wastage and unnecessary expenditure in the way we manage our finances. And then somebody comes and says, we cannot deal with taxation because if we are not able to tax you more, that programs will collapse. If we can reduce taxes and decide that we will go and get one Mabati roof that can last 10 years, I am sure there is Mabati that can last 10 years. I remember my mom's house, where we built it, I think 10, 15 years ago. We have never replaced a roof. I will go to that same supplier if indeed we need to buy a roof for State House. Honorable Speaker, let me conclude by discussing the question on, I'm being informed there is also the question of flowers. Yes. I don't know if Cherargei has details, but let me address delays in release of exchequer, Honorable Speaker. This is the other way that they frustrate devolution. That we will sit here, make noise, there will be a lovely figure there, they're saying, oh, 424 billion that is coming to counties, but there is no way counties can predict when they are going to receive this money. And it is very difficult to run counties in an unpredictable fashion. If you don't know, for instance, if senators didn't know when you're going to be paid, how would you know when to settle your obligations for rent, for school fees, for the other things? So it is wholly difficult. And we place the blame squarely at Treasury, because the National Treasury behaves as if it is the National Government Treasury and not the Treasury for all of us. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, there is a refusal to devolve functions. And Senator Mungatana has taken us through many examples of refusal to fully devolve functions. And Speaker, I will reiterate that in fact the full unbundling of functions was one of the conditions in the expired MOU. These are the things that bring me problems, because I remind the party, I remind members of ODM that is what Baba signed up for. We have had fights here with members of the National Assembly, again, Honorable Speaker, over the road maintenance levy fund, because the Constitution only recognizes 2 levels of roads. It's national roads and county roads. We are supposed to only have 2 levels of funding. They are supposed to take care of the national highways and the trunk roads, and counties are supposed to do the roads in the counties. Can you imagine, Madam Speaker, that in Nairobi, We have Kera doing roads, Kenya Rural Roads Authority doing roads in Nairobi. Under what definition does a road in Nairobi fall under rural road? Yeah? And the Honorable Raila was very clear, because he's the one who brought these road agencies. He said they became obsolete after the promulgation of the new constitution. They need to be wound up. We will continue to defend that legacy, Honorable Speaker, even if it costs us our lives. We want people to know that we will defend the things that Mzee used to believe in, including this. With those main remarks, I refuse to support this report. The Senate committee should have done more to get us the money that was promised by the head of state. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. Now we can have Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to join my colleagues to discuss the issue of this report. First and foremost, I want to thank the members of the committee, the mediation committee, for the struggle they have made. But I have a right on that. Honorable Speaker, constitutionally, allocations to counties, according to Article 2 or 3, it's actually a constitutional right for the counties to receive more than 15% of money, of the revenue collected. But however, every financial year, we go for mediation. I don't see why. The CRA is there to calculate what is going to the counties and what is going to the National Assembly. And therefore, there's no need for every time to go to mediation. The National Assembly assumes they have all the right that they allocate at the will of the National Assembly and not the Constitution. And that one shall not be there. Honorable Speaker, one other thing is that the audit account that we're using to allocate funds is 2122. The shareable account, money being allocated. Again, the same National Assembly have failed to approve the latest audited report that has been sent by the Auditor General's office. And that should have been the case, been the money that we should be using to base the shareable allocations to both governments. Honorable Speaker, mediating for 428 billion is actually not enough for the counties. One thing you know, Madam Speaker, is that the counties hold the majority of Kenyans, the population is in the counties. If you look at the services that you're providing, I don't know the National Assembly, the government, what they want to do, the 80% of the revenue that is collected, allocated. I think the Kenyans are getting services through the counties. And that's why we have now devolution. And that's why we have to allocate more money. If not all, but at least 50% should go to the counties. Because that's why now the population is getting their services, Madam Speaker. One other thing is that, Madam Speaker, every time you see our doctors are striking, teachers are striking, because there's no money that is being allocated to them. And it is actually their right. That's an annual increment every year. There are many bills in the counties. Well, I can see new clause that is saying that the national government will meet. Let me say, before I quote it, that the inclusion of clause 5 to be the bill to provide that the national government will bear any revenue shortfall, and in case of revenue surplus, the surplus will be applied to pay debts. If you have surplus, then we don't need to have, reduce the money for the counties. But I doubt if there's any surplus here, because we're paying a lot of huge debts, and every time the country is committed to debts. And because of that, there's a lot of wastage. We know, we're not blind. It's only the blind man who doesn't know that there's a lot of wastage. And I think I will agree with the Senator of Nairobi, Mheshimiwa Sifuna, that the electoral necessary expenditures have been done in both cases where the national government is actually using a lot of money, even buying flowers and funny things. If you go to our office here, you see a lot of flowers here. Do you really need to have flowers in the offices? when the kids are hungry. So we spend a lot of money on necessary things, papers. Someone can afford to buy papers. A senior officer in sitting in office can afford to buy a nation or a standard. You don't need to supply them. That money you need for other uses. And Madam Speaker, there are also functions that has been abandoned. We have 42 institutions that are now still performing the functions of the counties. And already it has been approved by the cabinet, including the Kera and the Kura that my friend was talking about, the senator. They're supposed to be actually winding up. They have no business. Their function is supposed to go to counties. But the same organizations and many regional institutions, parastatals, are performing again the same functions of the county, and the National Assembly is allocating funds to them, which is actually wrong. If those things are now winded and the functions go to counties, that same money will have been used for the counties, and we could be able to increase the amount of money going to the counties. Madam Speaker, there are obligations like, the community health promoters. This is actually a national program. The national program that has been brought by the national government is actually cost-shared again, reducing the amount of money that's going to counties. But what's happening now is, in the most instances, the national government is able to meet its obligation. They pay the 2,500 shillings in time, but the county cannot pay it because they don't have the money. And they are not being given extra money, additional funds for that. And therefore, those people who run around under the Scottish hand, who walk around to go and at least promote health services, are not being paid in time. They get delayed their money almost 4 or 5 months, and therefore, that money should be released immediately. Madam Speaker, one other thing is that there's a lot of duplication of functions. You see, water is the default function. Agriculture is a default function. Health is a default function. But we want to see, when the counties are doing water pans and any boreholes and being drilled, members of Parliament, National Assembly go, take money from the Minister of Water, and they do equal the same job again. I think that kind of wastage can be stopped. Duplication of work can be stopped. If this money goes to the county, then the same work can still be done. And actually the money that is remaining in water and agriculture and health is almost 80% of the budget. What goes to the National Assembly is actually, to the counties, it's just, peanuts. So that kind of educational projects should also be done away with, Madam Speaker. One other thing I want to tell the counties, Madam Speaker, if you look at the page 5, the reasons that the National Assembly said that the rejection of the Senate amendments was informed by the following. The most funny thing is the limited fiscal space. The House noted that this increasing the equitable shares allocated to county government to 454 billion for financial year 2026-27 will widen the fiscal deficit. It will increase additional borrowing. So I don't understand that actually. It's very wrong perception. There are other things that are actually increasing the borrowing. It is not what we allocate to the counties. And therefore that is actually not the right thing to be told to the people of Kenya and the Kenyan people. Madam Speaker, to the governors. Governors have turned the counties as a private enterprise. Whatever they do, it's at the product of at the will of the governor. It's only the governor to decide where to put water, what to do, instead of following the appropriate bills. And therefore, actually, our assemblies have failed also to overlook and oversight the counties. Because this is where the appropriation of funds are being done, is at assemblies. But until they wait until the senators talk, until when the senators will now say that what is going on in the counties is unacceptable, we want actually our assemblies to wake up and improve their oversight, because they are the ones who allocate funds. They appropriate the funds, and therefore fund appropriation must be done appropriately so that we can be able to meet the required distribution of funds. And funds must go up to the sub-counties. It must go to the wards. It must go to locations, so at least we can have a proper distribution of funds. There's a lot of equitable sharing of sharing of revenues within the county itself. One other thing, Honorable Speaker, is that as much as we appreciate that the national government has committed money to release to the counties, there's a lot of unnecessary delay. That at times it takes 3 months, 4 months for the county to receive their money. So Treasury is actually keeping the money for the counties and delay it unnecessarily until the government are forced to borrow money from banks at a cost. So every bank that they borrow money from the bank, and then at least there's an interest on it. And therefore, I will request the Treasury to actually to be committed also to release funds in time, so at least we can afford these many pending bills that the council are incurring. With those few remarks, I beg to support the bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Manzo, I'm giving you the opportunity with the request that you share that time with one more member from the other side. Yes. So we proceed. So you share with. Yes, we share with the Senator Sige. Thank you.
I'll be very brief, Madam Speaker, because most of the points have been made. Madam Speaker, this Division of Revenue Bill and this negotiated version still face the threshold of the Constitution as to what should be going to the counties. Madam Speaker, there has been a lot of challenges associated with the release of money to counties. There are serious delays from Treasury, and therefore counties are not able to perform in good time. Madam Speaker, there are also pending bills since 2013 in all counties in Kenya, including Makueni, and the new governors find it very difficult to clear with the pending bills, Madam Speaker. And again also, there has been an issue as to oversight of this House, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I want to say that oversight, there is primary oversight done by the counties, and also secondary oversight done by ourselves, which goes by audited accounts. And every time we summon governors here, they show up, and even for reports which have been presented like this today, we have passed a report which visited the counties by the Committee of Health, and Makueni was one of them. We have made recommendations as to what should happen to the ambulances and many other health issues relating to Makueni County, and I'm very sure we'll be back to these counties, including Makueni, to find out whether the report has been implemented, which is going to be shared to the counties. And therefore, when it comes to funding of counties, Madam Speaker, there is still a challenge. I want to associate myself with the speeches of Sifuna and say that we want all devolved functions devolved fully. If it is agriculture, let's not have functions be held in Nairobi. We are the one dealing with mangoes in Makueni. We are the one dealing with the citrus fruits. But when national government is still holding certain functions and are not devolved fully, then we are unable to devolve the functions and the money to follow. If we devolve the functions and the money, then there will be enough, Madam Speaker, for the counties. Also in health sector, if we devolve all health in totality and devolve the function in totality and devolve the money, Madam Speaker, we will still be able to achieve devolution. So in totality, this version as presented to the House today fails the test of the Constitution, fails the wishes of the counties, and I do oppose it, and I'll be voting against it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Sige.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also add my comments to this particular important bill. First of all, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the committee comprising of, or rather led by the able chairperson, Senator, Governor, Captain, Party Leader Ali Roba, and the team of the senators who were part of this mediation committee. And Madam Speaker, when the vice chairperson was moving this bill, she took us through the kind of experience that they went through before our counterparts in the National Assembly in terms of the back and forth engagements towards, of course, pushing to enhance the allocation to our counties and ultimately coming up with a figure of 428 billion, which, although we are saying it is not what we had asked for, it is not what this House had passed in its bill that was at 454, it in terms of what has come out, an achievement and an improvement of the demand on the allocation that they had already pushed before in the House. How I wish they had stayed longer, because noting from her moving notes, she said that they had, that must have been Senator Faki who said they had back and forth. How I wish they had stayed longer, because if every sitting, every break would yield $1 billion, we probably would have gotten more. But nonetheless, I would like to appreciate them and, Madam Speaker, ask them that they have done what the rest of these members in the House would have wanted to do. Madam Speaker, unfortunately, even as we do that, even as we debate this bill today, we are doing that as angels, because we are seeking to enhance the resources that are being allocated to our counties. Senator Wambua, while he was contributing earlier on, made reference to the ugly scenes that we sometimes experience in the course of our conducting our oversight mandate before the various committees, or even sometimes when we appear physically in the various counties where we are undertaking our oversight role. Why am I saying that, Madam Speaker? I'm saying it because we have put in a lot of energy as a House to push additional resources to be allocated to our counties. And we, of course, as protectors of devolution under Article 96 of the Constitution, we definitely expect that accountability, which we've said is not an option, and in fact is not available for any other governor or any other person who is running an institution at the county level, to make a choice whether to be accountable to the Senate or to the public in the positions that they are holding or otherwise. But I say we stand here to fight for additional resources to the counties. We definitely then, Madam Speaker, expect that a similar responsibility goes out to the governors to make sure that whatever resources that we do take out there should be put into good use, so that even as we fight as a House, we know that the beneficiaries are the people who are sitting out there in the counties in terms of service allocations that they are getting. And Madam Speaker, in the report, I will just try to run specifically to a number of issues that I picked. I would like to be, in particular, deal with the inclusion of Clause 5 of this particular bill, which cushions the House and cushions also our respective county governments from any kind of responsibility that we would be expected to bear in the event of a shortfall in terms of revenue that would be collected, and similarly, in case of any surplus, the requirement that that surplus revenue that would be made available will be utilized to pay debts. This is one of such clauses that the committee indeed managed to retain, because when you look at the conversation that went on in the National Assembly, their rejection was under two headings: revenue shortfalls and national interest obligations. But the committee managed to make sure that the introduction of Clause 5 is not defeated, and therefore we would expect then all our county governments throughout the financial year will be protected in the event that there is any shortfall. County governments and the allocations that have been given is not going to be affected. And that in itself is one of such responsibilities that the committee indeed protected the devolution and the resources that are available to the county governments. Madam Speaker, secondly, and this is also one of more important concerns that has been raised by colleagues, is with regards to the resources on projects which are co-shared by the national government, and the county governments. This is the CAIPs, that is the county aggregation plans, and among others, including also the issue on what do you call the I'm forgetting the term. It's disappearing. Madam Speaker, allow me to just correct this. That is, besides the CPICs, that is the county aggregation, and also the team that is normally the responsibility of the national government, the issue which colleagues have talked about here in terms of the allocation on those roles that are shared by the county governments and the national governments, it is because of the mistrust, I believe, that has gone out there to the county governments, such that when you talk about the allocation, for instance, of 250,000 for purposes of county aggregation and industrial parks, or the community health promoters, as well as the FLOCA, which is one of which, Madam Speaker, yesterday we had one of the committees where we were subjecting governors, including the governor of the county of Bomet, where FLOCA projects which have been funded have been taken over by county governments as though they have been fully funded by the national government. And when you look at the regulations that is coming from the National Treasury, these are supposed to be projects managed and handed over to the community upon their completion. And these are the ones which, of course, when we speak about the joint funding, Madam Speaker, the reason as to why this is going to continue as is to make sure that we protect these joint projects from being taken over by county governments, and because they are continuously funded, control on the resources that are allocated is going to protect service delivery and also misuse of these resources. It speaks back to what I said in terms of the accountability, in terms of those who are in charge of our counties, as well as us at the national level in the role that we are conducting as Oversight House. And so, Madam Speaker, the role that this committee has done, the push that they have maintained to enhance from 415 billion to 428 billion is an improvement of last year's funding, and I therefore support. I want to call upon the colleagues who are also saying that they are not going to support this because we have to protect devolution. The reasons that have been advanced by the National Assembly, as well as the justifications that our counterparts who sat in the mediation committee are sufficient enough to objectively accept the fact that 428 is in itself an improvement of the amount that we got in the previous year. And of course, we should encourage the National Assembly to make sure that in the subsequent financial years, this amount goes up. And we are looking at this because it has been improving from 415 to now 428. We definitely look forward to getting additional allocations in the subsequent years because we are protecting devolution. Madam Speaker, with that, I support and ask colleagues to support this particular bill. It has been brought in good time because there is no way Kara can be dealt with without DORA being passed by this House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Segei. Senator Beatrice Ogola.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the report that has been brought by the Mediation Committee. Madam Speaker, the Mediation Committee was established as an alternative dispute resolution method, and Madam Speaker, it came in as a Senate to bring in the interest of the Senate. And Madam Speaker, the interest of the Senate is primarily to protect the interest of our counties. Madam Speaker, two factors have been raised in this report. One of the factors is the idea of checking on the funding needs of both the counties and the national government, but for our reason, Madam Speaker, we are keen on the funding needs of the county government. Then the mediation also committee looked at the realities as they are. And Madam Speaker, we want to tell even the members of the National Assembly that all of us as Kenyans live in some counties. Our families are members of some counties. And so what affects those counties, Madam Speaker, affect all of us as members, be you in the Senate or whether you are a member of the National Assembly, Madam Speaker. Look at the functions that the counties undertake. A key function like health, Madam Speaker, all our families, wherever they are in our, back at home, get services from the hospitals that we have in the counties. And so that is why I say that we all need to pay attention to counties, whether you are in the National Assembly or whether you are in the county or in the Senate, Madam Speaker. Look at the cost of the provision of health. Madam Speaker, sometimes it is a pity, and we have said it over and over again, that most of these functions were never costed. And we have said it over and over again that a sector like health should never be arbitrarily given resources just based on no costing, Madam Speaker, because it is so key, and it is so key to our people, Madam Speaker. When you walk around in most of our hospitals, most of the time there are no provisions that should be provided in those hospitals. Let me give an example like the sub-district hospital that is in my constituency, in Dewa Referral District Hospital, Madam Speaker. It is a pity that there are complaints wherever that we are in the community now. Either there is no medicine, there is no good attention given to the sick, there is no medicine. Madam Speaker, it is even unfortunate. There are allegations that there are government hospitals that refer patients to private hospitals.
Senator Beatrice Ogola, you will have 17 more minutes when the motion is next scheduled in the afternoon. Honorable Senators, we also have a list of senators who had requested to speak, and this is Senator John Dirito Kenywa, Senator Alexander Mudigi, Senator William Kipkemoi Kisang, Senator Karungo Odhangwa, Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba, and Senator Madziah Stewart. This list will be prioritized when the motion comes back in the afternoon. Honorable Senators, it's now 1 p.m. Time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday 10th June 2026 at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
We were looking forward for you. Oh, okay. That's why I was telling you.